Hello, everybody, and welcome to another live episode of ComicPop Returns' own Off the Rack. I am your host, Sal.
And I'm Tiffany.
And we are talking about some new comics, and we're going to have a surprise special guest to talk about some comics that are coming out soon that you should go check out. Final order cutoff of that book was yesterday, but that doesn't mean you can't pre-order it.
Nice. Yes.
So you should.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk more about that later. Of course, we should mention that this show is sponsored by viewers like you. If you're watching the show live, first of all, thank you. Welcome to the show. But you can sponsor today's show and keep all that riffraff of corporate sponsorships out of it by using Super Chats. Ask a question or comment, and we'll read it here on the show. And those proceeds will go towards the infrastructure that is ComicPop and ComicPop Returns. We do appreciate everybody who is here now watching live. If you want to make sure you don't miss the live show, make sure to subscribe. Also, click that like button. It helps us out. And subscribe to the channel by clicking the bell for notifications so you know when we go live every single week, which is usually every Monday. Unless there's like an emergency.
Right. Why would you say that? Now I feel like there's going to be one.
No.
Oh, gosh.
Well, it is raining, so we may lose power, so you never know.
You never know. Or internet, just for fun.
Yeah. But there's a lot of books that came out this past week that we think you should check out. We're going to be reading and reviewing those, and then we're going to talk about recommendations that are coming out this week at the end of the program.
I'm literally looking at a book right now that I completely forgot to purchase.
That's okay.
You're hovering right over it. No. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
I was like, oh, damn it.
Right?
Gonna need a makeup.
Yeah. Well, it's been a weird time. Thanks to New York Comic Con, we've been kind of like all over the place.
I would say that it's because of my investment in a specific thing that's going on over at Marvel right now. That like my focus was totally on that, and not like it was. Is it an overwhelming amount this week? Maybe, but like it wasn't bad.
No,
it was just like I was like, ooh. All right,
yeah,
yay, I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's going to be over soon enough.
It's
so
true.
It's fine.
And we're going to talk about the finale of She-Hulk.
We are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the thumbnail.
I didn't look at the thumbnail.
No, of course.
Because I'm a professional.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know this.
Yeah.
Professional over here.
But yeah, so we're going to talk really quick. I want to mention, of course, Fantastic Four number 48 from Juan Cabal and, of course, David Pepose. This is the second part in a two-part Fantastic Four guest spot where David Pepose is telling us Die Hard in the Baxter Building. It's also an AXE Judgment Day tie-in, although not really. Like it just kind of explains like where Reed is or why he's missing, and they're going to get into all that.
Which is, you know what, I do kind of appreciate that. Like, do I wish like every tie-in had something like strong
directly
to say?
or strong to say?
That'd
about
be
Judgment
fine,
Day,
but like I do also appreciate the question of like, because you know someone, Ethan, I'm looking at you, who would like read AXE would be like, where's Reed Richards? Why isn't he fixing this? And it's like, well, because he's busy.
Yeah, well, he's in the think tank trying to come up with a plan. And by the way, he doesn't. It's hilarious. But yeah, so what's it called? Oblite Midas is running around the Baxter Building with her crew trying to steal Reed Richards' brain. He's the one behind the vault in Nakatomi Plaza. And so we watch Sue, Johnny, and Ben deal with their respective 3 issues. Johnny trying to get into the Baxter Building, Ben being underneath the Baxter Building, and Sue being within the Baxter Building. And all of them dealing with their respective issues. It's a lot of fun. It's really well written. Every character is pretty consistent throughout. The way in which Sue resolves problems is both offensive and defensive. Really, if anybody's like, oh, I don't really care for Sue, I don't really get why people think she's so cool, this is not a bad 2-parter for you to really get acclimated to what an interesting and oft ignored character she can be.
Okay.
Good status quo for Oblite and or Oubliette, I should say, and more. It's a pretty fun story that I think hopefully will be remembered for its, for the fact that it is a good highlight of Sue Storm. But more important, I think that because we get like a monologue for Reed throughout the issue, every member of the Fantastic Four is represented. It's not necessarily just like, oh, I'm trying to say something about Sue and I'm going to marginalize or I'm going to forget about the rest of the literally 3/4 of the Fantastic Four. No, they all have something important to do. It's just that some of those things that are important, like they're very superficial or one-dimensional. It's just like Johnny's got to get in.
Yeah.
But even his solution for getting in is clever. Ben being crushed under the crippling weight of protecting all these people is like just very Ben Grimm.
Right.
Good stuff. And Reed figures out what to do about Judgment Day, which is accept it and live with his family. It's like it's the lesson that Reed learns every time somebody wants to talk about But he does pass.
Cool. Do the rest of the 4 pass?
I assume that all of them pass, because it's all 4 of them like together as a family, and the Celestials just like, yeah. Good job, Fantastic Four. Is it a Judgment Day tie-in? No, like not even a little.
Okay.
Like if you are like, oh man, I wonder what the Fantastic Four are doing in Judgment Day. Read Judgment Day, because that's what they're like literally actually doing.
Mm-hmm.
This is just Peppo's got this pitch. You know, he pitched it to them, and they're like, "Ooh, we can make it a Judgment Day tie-in." It's like, all right, you know what? It's fun anyway.
Yeah.
But good stuff. And not a bad like calling card to be like, hey, maybe Peppo should be writing the Fantastic Four, or at the very least a Sue Storm series.
Yeah,
you know,
why
but
not?
good stuff. Yeah. But if you are interested in more Peppos, you should be reading Savage Avengers.
There you go.
So yeah, what else you got? What did you read that you want to talk about?
Everything I read
had
AXE on top of it, except for one thing that I read.
Yeah.
That was by Boom Studios. Written by Jeremy Hahn, with art by Jason A. Hurley, called The Approach.
Oh.
I don't know if you know this about me, but I like a lot of different horror stuff, but there's a specific style of horror that I really, really like. That is, you're isolated in a wintry place.
Yes. I'm looking at you, The Thing.
And then the horror comes for you.
Right.
Like, I really enjoy, at least the movie adaptation of it, like the beginning of 30 Days of Night up to a point.
Yeah, 30 Days of Night is almost a great movie.
Something for me about being in a like snowy, isolated, like location, and then something coming for you. And like I am all about that, and it doesn't matter how many times I see it. I'm like, yes, more please.
Yeah,
and that's very much what this is. This
all
is
right.
More please. The long and the short of this is that this is a mini series. Again, written by Jeremy Hahn, who also wrote The Red Mother. But this is like, okay, so there is I can't remember, honestly, I don't remember where it is, where it takes place, but they're in a snowy locale. It's an airport. And like there's snow coming, and they think it's just going to be a dusting, and then it turns into like this huge like storm that shows up, right? And we're following presumably I want to call them the ground crew, but they're clearly like they help to like put out fires, and they're like
maintenance.
Yeah, but they also they also literally had like fire trucks and fire coats.
Okay.
But you're following to Mac and Abigail from this. Abigail's new to the team.
Mac, you say?
Mac, I know. Trust me.
And by the way, I love it.
Listen,
we just talked about D-Dubs or Dubbers' book, Beta Ray Bill, back in the day, and like there are so many references, and it's like one might be like, "Hey, wow," but at the same time, it's like I like all those references, and I enjoy what's happening here, so I'm not going to begrudge you. Like, call him Mac. Why the hell not?
There's a huge plane that has to be rerouted to land at their airport, even though they're basically trying to close down.
Yeah.
The plane lands. They get all the passengers off. They're keeping them in the hangar. And that's when like a smaller, like maybe like 1-2 like person plane comes like out of nowhere.
Okay.
With no flight plan, no nothing. And they just crash into the ground.
Oh no.
And it's like a fiery blaze. And they go out there and they pull the pilot out. And they're like, oh my God, what's wrong with him? And they pull him into the hangar as well. He's dead.
Okay.
The power goes out. It's getting real cold.
Oh no.
So they gotta like work towards that, and that's when someone goes to check around for some further blankets, and they find that the body is gone.
Oh no.
So like also additionally, I completely just missed the key point of The Approach. When they find out that when they take the call sign from the plane and they look it up, the plane went missing 27 years ago. Awesome. So like I'm like
Langoliers.
I'm like Jeremy, you just send that right into my brain. Thank you very much. So like I am here for this. It is a mini series, a horror mini series. It's hitting at all the right times for me because we're dealing with horror. It's the spooky month. We're going into the winter, right?
Yeah.
At least if you're in the northern hemisphere.
Right.
So like these hit all the marks for me. Like yes, I like the holidays and all the love and all that stuff. Yes, but there comes a point in the winter where I am just like, I want as much horror isolation as possible, and I don't know why. But like, yeah, that's just me as a person. But like, I was thrilled to have this. Really, really like the art. Jesus, did I say that before? Is that no? It's Jason. Sorry, Jason Hurley and Jeremy Hahn are the writers, and Jesus Hervas is the artist. And the art is great. It looks great. I really love the style of it. It has like a pseudo realism, but like also like a noiry like depth to their
absolutely
to their shadows. Just looks great. Really, really loving it. I'm not gonna tell you what happens on the last page, but trust me, I'm hooked. I'm here.
Yeah, well, it's a dope cover.
Yes,
it's a fun, almost like you blink and you'll miss it. Like,
that was very much what it is for me, and like I saw it as I was actually pulling my other books, because I always like for Comixology I turn on a certain amount of publishers, and like Boom was on there. I was like, let me just take a look really quickly, and like I saw that and I clicked on it to read the thing and like the summary, and immediately I was like, well, that I'm just gonna buy this sight unseen. I'm purchasing this and I don't regret it. The only thing I regret is not having a physical.
That's fair.
Yes. So if you like horror,
pick it up.
Yeah, pick it up. Again, it's a mini series. It's not a huge commitment.
It may be gone when you get there because of how few orders they make, but make sure to tell your comic shop if you enjoy it to get it. Let's I'll do one more review and then we'll do some super chats. But I read Batman versus Robin from Mark Waid and Mahmoud Asrar.
I really like this cover. I don't necessarily like the logo okay, I don't mind the logo. I just don't like the logo's styling juxtaposed with this art style.
Because it has a drop shadow. The top part has a drop shadow, but they're overlaying the logo. So it's like everything has a drop shadow.
I don't even know if that's what it is for me. I think it's more that the logo itself isn't like flat. Yeah. And there was like a really like strong posterized or poster style graphic like nature to this cover. And so makes me think it should be a flat sort of logo image, like color wise. I don't know.
Yeah, I should also point out, I think it's nice that DC is putting the Black Adam ad on the top of their cover, but I think it should be tit for tat. I think if they're going to be kind enough to put a promotion for their movie on their comic book covers, that they should put a comic book promotion in their movies.
Admittedly, I feel like DC has done a better job of that in the past than Marvel has.
Oh, DC just dwarfs Marvel in terms of making that effort.
Like,
oh no, I saw Black Adam comic books at the premiere.
Yeah. Well,
like straight up.
And I'm immediately thinking of a movie that nobody wants to think of, which
Green Lantern.
Yeah, because right at the end of Green Lantern,
they're like, don't forget to read the Green Lantern comics.
Yeah, like there it was. So,
yeah, it's really cool, and it's there. It's there of the TV broadcast, the Blu-ray.
So I'm not going to give them a hard time about this, especially because, unlike the logo, it really kind of works with the cover aesthetic.
Yeah.
So I'm aware of this.
Yeah. Batman vs. Robin 2 is fine. It's fine. It's Mark Waid, like at his Mark Waidiest. Like, when Mark Waid is hitting, it's hitting hard. And when Mark Waid is doing a job, he's doing a job. It's like not too dissimilar from like when Peter David does a job. And you're like, oh, okay, a story from beginning, middle, and end. Way to go. Motherfucker knows how to do a story structure. Way to go. But, it's not going to blow smoke, up my skirt or anything. This is one of those things. It's also doing stuff where I'm like, okay, because I'm enjoying Mark Waid's World's Finest, which is like a flashback book that takes place in the past. Okay, cool. He invents this character, the demon Neza, and Neza is really a really big deal, and he's really scary. Well, guess what? Neza's back, and he's in this book, and he's possessed Robin. And I'm like, oh. Wow, a character that you invented is now suddenly really important. Not too dissimilar from your Doctor Strange run. But, listen, he's got to pay the bills, and he's Mark Waid. He's been working from this industry for like 40 years. So it's like, you gotta get some of those residuals. The House of Secrets is burned down as a result of this book.
What?
Yeah. Damian burns down the House of Secrets. That's all I'll say about that. So, that's, stakes, tension, drama. All the characters are pretty consistent outside of course, Damian, but, I get it. But,
Indeed.
Dude knows his continuity, or at least he knows his universe. Obviously, in his World's Finest, he used Doom Patrol, he used Zatanna and the House of Secrets and like all this magic and everything like that. Like, it is intrinsically a magic book. Like, you may want to check out this series when it's done. But maybe not if they're going to do something like that. But yeah. So I'm going to read a couple of super chats. If that's okay with you. Brian Rollins.
Responding to something in the chat.
Ready for the axe talk and hoping you're ready for the angry She-Hulk comments no matter what you take. No matter what your take is. ComicPop rules. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
I think we've fostered a really incredible community that's like way better than the sum of its parts. I think it's way better than the riffraff you'll hear. And I think we're so far removed from the She-Hulk finale that we can talk about it without any kind of muddling or confusion or vitriol. I think we're capable of doing that. Let's find out. Brady White says, "Howdy. I hope you're all doing great. I've been reading Doctor Strange.
Yay.
Started with Aaron's run and just finished Wade's run. I've been loving it. Just started Strange Academy, and I think I will dig it."
I think you will too. Trust me. Even though he doesn't show up too much in it, there is something very. It just feels super connected. It carries his name, and honestly, the story telling style just fits. I don't know. I think you're gonna like it.
Armand Graham, thank you very much for your support. We really appreciate it. MNM says, "That new Namor book by Cantwell is really good. It's basically Marvel's Waterworld starring Namor. Great premise. I'm surprised wasn't already done. Interesting. I haven't checked it out. I skipped a bunch of books this week. We've been busy, but
I've never seen Waterworld, so I don't.
Oh man,
I don't know.
We gotta watch Waterworld. We gotta. You just saw a classic movie for the first time recently. We should watch Waterworld. You'd enjoy it. It's really stupid.
Now I can blame MNM for me having
to watch Waterworld.
It's really my own fault. I didn't have to say that out loud.
No, it's true. But before we get into more super chats and more comics, I should welcome a very special guest who is joining us all the way from wherever they're from. I'm sorry, I don't actually know where you're from, but we will jump into it anyway. That is to say, Mr. Matthew Rosenberg. Matthew, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm in New York, by the way.
New York. Oh, that's right. You knew the time zone.
I did. I'm aware of the East Coast time zone because of my natural New Yorkness.
Nice. Yeah. Well, then hopefully you are keeping dry because it is wet out here in the East.
Yeah, it's all right today for now. But I also haven't really left my house. I've been working, so.
Good. Yes, working hard, especially on a book that just. I feel bad because the show comes out. This show comes out a day after Final Order Cutoff for a book that is very near and dear to, I think, both of our hearts, and so I wanted to get people aware of it, and that is, of course, Wildcats #1.
Wildcats #1. Yes, you shouldn't feel bad because we still need people to not just pre-order the book, but actually care about it and know about it and buy it and stuff. So any little bit of spreading the love of Wildcats is great.
Yeah. Now you've been sprinkling Wildcats love throughout your career at DC, and I love to see it. And every time it would come up, I felt a very strong kinship because ever since Wildcats / the Wildstorm universe was acquired by DC, I was like, man, I can't wait to see what they do with it. And they tried. You got to admit, like there's been attempts, but it's always fun to see it like. When it's referenced in this kind of, I actually know what this is, and I remember what happened here. Were you a classic Wildstorm reader back in the day? I have to assume.
Yeah. I was very young, but I was a big Marvel and DC kid, and I loved Jim Lee was my favorite artist, sure. and still is probably, and And I remember when all those guys left, I was really little and I was very sad that they all left Marvel and then Image started and I was like, well, I guess I have to try these. And I remember just reading Wildcats and just thinking it was just the craziest book. And the thing I love about Wildcats and the thing that I think we're trying to really do is capture the fact that, like, unlike a lot of other books, it does sort of reinvent itself with the time. So you get these the Alan Moore Wildcats is very different from the Jim Lee and Brandon Choi Wildcats is very different from the Joe Casey Wildcats. And it's just always sort of updating with the times in interesting ways and sort of commenting on what's going on. So we're trying to capture that spirit.
It's interesting. You just hit a really interesting point. How like we basically get like a new generation of Wildcats or Wildstorm like every 5 or so years. Like there's just this new invention, this new interpretation of these characters of this universe. Can you tell us a little bit about where in the DC universe Wildcats takes place? Like is this the same grifter that we've seen in Detective Comics and Batman?
Yeah. It's the same grifter. Basically, Grifter appeared in James Tynan's run on Batman. He was working as Lucius Fox's bodyguard, but there was some shadiness to that. And I got the chance to sort of explore it and run with it in Batman Urban Legends. We did a grifter series and also tease it in the Future State event. There was, I did 2 issues of Grifter and Future State that sort of explained that, like, he's kind of playing multiple sides here. He's working for a shadowy organization, and now this book is that shadowy organization sort of coming to light. They're not. I think a lot of people are expecting them to be crashing in from another dimension or aliens. And we're not exactly playing all of our cards up front, but the idea is that this is the Halo Corporation is a major company in the DC universe that's been really, like, they're a new company, but they're become very important, and the Wildcats are their paramilitary arm wing that they've been finding and recruiting these strange people and hiring them to go make sure that the company is profitable and doing its job.
Okay.
And so that's where they are. They're a sort of corporate superhero team that is operating in the shadows, but just barely in the shadows of the DC universe.
And you changed the acronym a little bit, so it's no longer covert action teams.
Yes, it's no longer covert action teams. They are a crisis aversion tactical squad, because that is the bigger role of the team. The Halo company, the Halo Corporation's mission statement is to improve the world. They're building a lot of products and selling a lot of things and making a lot of things that improve the world. This is their more extreme arm of that. They are put this team together to save the world from crisis level events that they find that they think other people are not handling. When the Justice League don't see it coming, the Wildcats do and get there first.
I kind of like that a lot. Like that's a really fun pitch for them. How many issues do we get for this? And I have to assume, because I know it's a miniseries, or is it? Is it not? Because I remember seeing it billed as a miniseries.
It's billed as a limited series. We have big plans, so if it goes well, we're going to do more. If it doesn't, we're going to figure out how to tell the story in other ways, because there's a lot of sort of Wildcats and stuff coming that we have planned. So right now, we don't have a definite number, but you know, it's more than 6.
Oh, cool. All right.
Yeah.
Did they give you when you brought this together and we finally got like a Wildcats book after we had the Wildstorm, we had Grifter, we had like teases of, I know, Zealot and Voodoo and God, I can't remember. I always get Voodoo and Void mixed up. But how much of the Wildstorm universe did they say, oh, go for it? Or was there anything where you're like, well, we can't use it all? Like, we can't use like Hellspawn or, you know?
It's funny because Ben Abernathy, who is my editor on this, and he's the executive editor at DC, he's a former Wildstorm editor. And so his love of this stuff is really intense and overwhelming in the same way that I feel like mine is. And so we kind of, a lot of what it is not, there isn't a lot of like, you can't do that. It's just figuring out the right way to unroll things and package them and show them off and present them. And so there's been a few times where I've been like, I want to use this character. And then we sort of talk about it and we're like, that's not big enough for this character. We want this character to hit bigger. Like, they can't just be a cameo. They have to be a big moment. But I haven't been waved off from anything. I haven't been told no on anything. And there is a lot of, it's funny because when you unveil a team book, especially something like Wildcats, and I know this from doing X-Men, when you put them on the cover of the first issue, people go, where's so-and-so and where's so-and-so?
Sure.
And I just want to tell people, like, there are a lot more characters coming than what you see on the cover is all I can say. You're going to be the end of issue 2, issue 3. There's a lot of people you're not going to expect showing up in this book.
Awesome. What is the release date for Wildcats #1 so that everybody can know? Like, tell your local comic book store, like, I want to pre-order Wildcats #1. It's coming out on this date.
I want to say November 8th. Does that sound like it's a possible date that exists?
Yeah, I mean, that certainly is a date that's coming.
Yeah,
so
let's go with that. It's about November 8th. I'm pretty sure it's November 8th. Yeah, because our final order cutoff was yesterday. So, there's still time. If you call your local shop and say, I want to get this, they can probably still get you copies. And there's a lot of cool covers. There's a Jim Lee cover, which is the coolest thing in the world. And and so it's coming in just a little under a month.
Can I ask this? If it's out of school just be like, nah, I can't talk about that. But when you pitched this, when it got to light, was Jim Lee at all like, I have a couple of thoughts about Wildcats I'd like to share with you?
No, what's funny is that I'm pitching it to I pitch it to Ben Abernathy, and then he takes it up the chain, and I'm sort of, the creators are sort of removed from that process.
Sure.
And then it's something that we've been working on for a while, and it was sort of we hit pause for a little bit, and I was like, what's going on? Why are we paused? Like, I thought we were doing this.
Yeah.
And then they were like, it's the 30th anniversary is coming up. We want it for the 30th anniversary. And I was like, oh, wow, that's heavy. And they're like, yeah, we want this to be a big thing, and we're really getting behind it. And I was very appreciative. And that's all I heard. And then a bunch of months ago, they had the premiere for the Batman movie was in New York, and I was invited, and someone from DC reached out beforehand and said, Jim is having some friends come to a private event for drinks. We would love it if you would come. And so I went to this bar to meet with Jim and a bunch of other creators, and he came up to me and he was like, hey Matt, and I was like, I get nervous around him just because it's like, I'm such a lifelong fan, but he's always been so kind and amazing to me. And he was like, I just want to say how excited I am that you're about all the Wildstorm stuff you're doing. He's like, it really means a lot to me. And it was so nice and so overwhelming that I sort of thought there was like a shoe gonna drop where he's gonna be
sure, like, but
we're not going to do any of that. Yeah. Like, but I remembered how much I loved all of it, and I'm going to do it myself. And I just sort of was like, oh, and I like didn't, and he was like, so thank you. And then, so I was really awkward and fumbly, but yeah, that's it. He was just really sweet and nice. And then, he agreed to do a cover for the book, which, meant everything to me. And
awesome.
Then I saw it. I was like, it's amazing. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing, in my career, I've had a lot of things that feel like real big, heavy honors and real like heavy moments for me. And having Steven Segovia, who's drawing the book and me redesign some of the characters. We sort of updated them and changed them. We wanted to keep the core elements, but there's some tweaks. Having Jim come in and draw the redesigns.
Oh yeah.
I can't even imagine for Steven what that feels like. But even for me, I was like, oh wow, like I'm in some tiny way. Yeah, it was intense, but it's really a beautiful cover, and I'm really honored to have it. So
I'm hyped. I'm really excited. I've been seeing your social media promotion of your kind of grassroots, grifter memes promoting Wildcats. And that's when I was like, I gotta reach out to him and see if he'll just come on the show and plug this, because it's been so fun to see a genuine love of this universe / family of characters and to take it into the modern parlance, because I feel like there are no bad characters, there's no bad team. It's just like you need the right creative outlet to see them through, and I feel like Wildcats, they and the Wildstorm universe by extension, like they had their time and it was very popular, but I don't think that necessarily they are remitted to that time. Like there's an opportunity for them here now.
No, I think so. Like when I got to DC, I was at Marvel for 5 years or 5 or 6 years or something. And Marvel has so many teams that I felt so spoiled by it, because there's always like, well, I want to throw on this team. And when I got to DC, I was like, but there's just not a lot of teams here. Like it's much more single character driven universe. And like, I knew that as a fan subconsciously, but when you're actually writing it, I immediately, my thought was like, why are the Wildcats on the shelf? Like the Wildcats could be such a vital part of this. Like they serve a role in the same way that you look at, what the Avengers do versus what the X-Men do or what the Fantastic Four does. The Wildcats don't do what the Justice League does. The Wildcats don't fit that role. And it's true for, Stormwatch and Planetary and the Authority and all of the Wildstorm universe. I think that they really are such smart and vital concepts that I think they could really matter to the DC universe in a big way in the future. And I'm hoping that fans, not just selfishly hoping that fans embrace this book, but give us a chance, because I think it's really additive to the DC universe. I think, you're going to enjoy seeing the Wildcats go up against the Justice League, go up against the Court of Owls, go up against Batman. You're going to see these other characters come in and just expand the universe in these fun ways that I think, I don't know. I'm a fan of both. I'm a huge DC fan, obviously, and a huge Wildstorm fan. And I understand the people who are like, I like them separate, and I get that. But we're in an era of making everything bigger and crazier, and this is taking two very awesome big ideas and smashing them together. And I think there's a lot of fun to be had there.
Absolutely. No, you hit it best when you said it was additive. It is, you're just contributing to the larger universe and kind of expanding it into a fun, like, new entry point for old and new readers alike. So
yeah,
it's exciting times. Watch out for Wildcats. Do you have like a log line? Do you want to like pitch this book a little bit? You want to be like, okay, so if that hasn't sold you, this is what you're going to get when you're reading Wildcats.
Man, I'm the book isn't out yet, so normally it takes time to learn that. But I would say that this book is, it is a throwback to sort of big bombastic 90s action comics, but with modern heart and sensibility. They are a superhero team who doesn't answer to anybody and doesn't care what anyone thinks. And that is not going to go great as they're dropped into the DC universe and have to go head to head with everybody. So if you want to see the team that is the thorn in the side of everyone in the DC universe, the team that is saving the world and pissing everyone off while they do it, this is that book. And I don't know, Steven Segovia's art is absolutely gorgeous in it. He's killing it on the book. And
you've seen a little bit of a preview from it back in August, and
yeah,
it's looking fun. Like, it looks modern, fun, kinetic. Like, Segovia's a great choice for this book.
Yeah, he's full of energy. It's stylish, it's cool, and we're trying to tread the line, but to make old school fans happy. There's a lot of wide panel pages, and the lettering feels like throwback Wildstorm lettering, and and there's a lot of like hyper violence and crazy badass characters, but also there is some modern sensibilities thrown in and a lot of fun DC cameos. And I think I don't know, I think it's a book that for Wildstorm fans, lapsed Wildstorm readers, like I there's a lot of love for the Wildstorm universe in here, but for people who've never read a single Wildstorm book, like, this is a new DC team. Like, this is the new team that is going to matter in your universe. So come check them out and say hello and get mad at them. You're supposed to get mad at them a little bit.
Awesome. I'm loving it. I can't wait. Matthew Rosenberg, thank you so much for being on the show, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
We'll talk again soon, hopefully, about more coming your way.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for being on the show. And I'll see you later, man. Thanks.
Take care.
You too. Well, there you go, everybody. That was Matthew Rosenberg talking about Wildcats #1, coming from him and Steven Segovia in, let's say November 8th. Maybe November 8th. Sometime in November. Very excited about it, as you could tell. And that's just a little cameo, a little fun thing, But thank you so much to Matthew Rosenberg for coming on the show and being here. We really appreciate it, man. And that's it. So let's move on to the next bunch of stuff that's happening here. What else we got? I guess I could talk about something unless you're ready.
How many do you have? Because I got like
2.
I got like 12,000. So you might want to let me.
I got like 2.
All right.
So yeah.
Really quickly, I just want to mention that, like, I'm not going to talk about this in depth. I did read it. Not last week, but the week before that.
Yes.
X-Men, AXE X-Men #1 came out. It's just Gillen taking an opportunity to dive into the like group that's like trying to pull off the last ditch effort. Yeah, Jean and Cersei and Wolverine and Mr. Sinister and some others on that team. But it's really just about Jean Grey. Iron Man's there as well. But it's about Jean Grey being judged. That's what it is at the end of the day.
Okay. I assume the Phoenix stuff comes up.
Oh. Oh yeah. Yes, it does.
That's cool.
That was Kieran Gillen with art by Francesco Mobley. So I just want to let you know that. I also did read from that same time period, X-Men Red #7.
Oh.
It's freaking dope. It's really like the beginning of it is very sad. It's really well done. It just deals with the death of Magneto and just some of his final words on it. It's really very well written, very touching.
Nice.
That is written by
Al Ewing.
Al Ewing. Sorry, I was trying to get to the credits page, which
sure.
is in a totally different location in this issue. No, it makes sense. They didn't want to put the credits page at the beginning. So
there's a stylistic decision.
Yeah, so I have no problem with that.
I love it.
Written by Al Ewing with art by Stefano Caselli. Really great issue, really tight. Seeing some shifting around, dealing a little bit with Iska.
This is it's by Madibek Musibilovikov.
Okay, well, I'm going by the credits page in the book.
I'm sorry.
So
all right, maybe.
So I'm gonna go with them.
That's fair.
And also because it looks exactly like Stefano Caselli's.
Oh, well, there you go.
To date.
Is that number 7?
Yes.
All right.
And this is going to just kind of put a little pin on Wolverine on Magneto's death, and I think it's well written here. Ewing did a really good job with it. And Gillen obviously giving him the room to tell this story,
yes,
and to put that pin on it. Also, establishing hey, Cable and WizKid know what Brand's doing, and Iska the Unbeaten is leaving the Great Ring of Power. Because she got judged, and also the Fisher King took her down a peg or two.
Oh, good.
It's with words.
Yeah,
really
course.
well done, and just solid issue. Just want to say that. Hey,
that's exciting.
Good issues all around.
Yeah.
Staying on the Axe train. A ridiculous number of books came out this week for AXE. We're not going to talk about all of them. There were some I just straight up did not read, but would like to go back to. I would like to check out X-Force because it's dealing with Kraven, but I chose not to read that one because I knew it was going to be dealing with Kraven. And I was like, you know what? I gotta compartmentalize.
I'm
wait on that one for right now. But we had quite a few books that were just their books. Like Wolverine came out this week.
Oh yeah.
That was an Axe tie-in. Dealing with Solemn Wolverine and the Muramasa Blades, as well as the Hell Bride. That's written by Ben Percy with art by Federico Vincentini.
Yay.
So this is one of those issues where it's hey, if you've been following Wolverine, then you probably are very well aware of Solemn. You're aware of what was going on in Ten of Swords. So this is really just for you, and we are going to make it a motivation of the progenitor judging Wolverine. So it works as a tie-in,
yes,
without being overly reliant on it being a tie-in, because Wolverine is
involved. It's a focus on Wolverine.
Yeah, but and it's his book, but he is involved with what's going on in the main Axe book. So this would make sense that we're going to do something, and this does one of those, which I really honestly appreciated. A lot of the AXE books, not all of them, but a lot of them, if you look at that credits page, there's that little summary section. Check the bottoms of those, because they often tell you where this falls. So this one says, note, this issue takes place after AXE Judgment Day number 3.
Okay.
So it's trying to explain to me, hey, even though it's coming out now,
right,
and you're but Wolverine's here. Don't worry. It doesn't take place.
Because we know that.
Yes, we know that, and it's okay. And I was like, that's cool.
Yeah, that's an old comic book thing that you don't see very often anymore, and I do appreciate them actually dusting that off a little bit.
Yeah, but yes, this kind of wrapped that up. Wolverine gets to be Wolverine in this. It's that version of Wolverine that's I'm a badass and I'm a sad warrior. I'm a sad warrior, but I'm also just oh, just throw me out. All I want to do is punch. But then also utilizes his humanity.
Yeah.
To solve a problem without knowing that he's going to solve the problem.
Right.
And also Solemn leaves.
Solemn leaves?
Yeah. He goes to hell.
Good.
Willingly.
Oh.
He's I'm gonna go. Bye.
Okay, bye.
And if you're wondering how Wolverine is judged, could you guess? I bet you can't.
Oh.
He gets the thumbs up.
What?
And he is really mad about it. He yells at the Celestial or the Progenitor. He's like, I don't deserve it. No, not me. Come back and fight me.
Right.
And it's just gone. So I like this issue quite a bit. It is not at all, in my opinion, required reading for AXE, but it's just a fun Wolverine issue.
Yeah.
So yeah, 10 out of 10. Good times. Good times with Wolverine. Maybe 9 out of 10. But along those lines, with books that are just their books, but then with the AXE title on it, because that's kind of our 2 categories.
Yeah.
Really, there's kind of 3 categories. Well, because I want to say there's books,
X-Men Eternals.
Well, no. I say there are 3 types of categories for this AXE event. Well, that are not the main book. So if you're looking at tie-ins, I think there's 3 types. There's the ones that are AXE insert title,
okay,
whether that be Death to Mutants, X-Men, Eternals, right?
Right.
Those are all written by Kieran Gillen and all hold a little bit more weight.
Right, like those are required reading, you might say.
Maybe it depends. I read the Eternals one, and I think that's required reading if you're an Eternals fan.
Right.
Then there's the AXE titles that are X-Men adjacent. To me, those are tend to be a little more tied into everything.
Okay.
That said, not all of them.
Right.
Like I think that's its own category. And then there are the other books where it's like Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, Captain Marvel. Like they're involved,
utterly dispensable.
Well, maybe and maybe not. It depends. Like, but they're involved because this isn't just supposed to be about X-Men and Eternals. It's supposed to be it's a world problem. So hey, we got to show that as well. So like, you got a couple of different levels of tie-ins here. For me, I like Kieran Gillen's writing. So like all the Kieran Gillen written books are like required reading for me.
Sure.
Because I'm just like, I just want as much as possible.
How are you going to do this on back issues?
Dude, I was thinking about that one today.
So I was just thinking about how they're going to collect it. And then I'm like, oh my God, how are you going to do this book? I assume you're just going to do the main book. And then if they have questions, just go down that rabbit hole and then be like, all right.
There's yes and no. I think it's going to be just, I don't know. I
maybe you have to do Eternals first.
So funny that you mentioned that because I literally was thinking about that as I was reading it today, and I was like, well, I probably bring this up, but maybe not that. But along those lines, I also wanted to point out I read a book that someone was like, you got to read this if you've got time, and I made time, folks. I made time for this one. So don't say I don't pay attention. I do pay attention to when you guys make recs. But like it was like I wasn't sure I was gonna make it, and then I didn't make this in there. But I read Captain Marvel number 42 today because it was Judgment Day tie-in, and I gotta tell you, the summary page for this definitely helped me out. But the fact was, like, you did not need to know anything about Captain Marvel by Kelly Thompson with art by Andrea DeVito to enjoy this book because it is just, hey, Captain Marvel's doing some stuff, and I probably would have known what that stuff was had I read the issue before that. But all I need to know is Captain Marvel's doing some stuff. She is being judged, as well as Lori L, her like half sister.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which they put that in there because this book assumes
you've never read any Captain Marvel.
Yeah,
well, that's what a judgment. That's what a tie-in should do. It's like this is. It's hey, welcome to you probably don't read Captain Marvel. Yeah, welcome to the book.
Would you like to maybe read some more Captain Marvel? Because this was fun, admittedly. So this was a little trial, I think.
Well, you like Kelly Thompson? She wrote the Deadpool series, which you enjoyed, which was sadly canceled.
Yeah. So this book, they're both being judged. That is not the main focus of this book, and that is why this book was recommended for me.
Okay.
Chewie is the main focus of this book.
The cat alien, yes.
Which I was like, okay, yeah, accurate. Whoever said you should read this, Tiffany. You're the real MVP. Because that's literally what it is. It's Chewie sees Captain Marvel as
the judger,
as the progenitor. And does like cat things. Like it's adorable, you know, and like, you know, he goes to kill a mouse, and the progenitor's like thumbs down, then he lets it go, and it's like, oh. Oh, okay.
But what is it? Why is the progenitor so fickle? Like, I take measure of your life, not like what you're doing because you know you're watched.
Because different writers are writing this right now. This one is just like a very light, fun issue. Like, if you're like, oh my gosh, there's just too much, it's too heavy.
Yeah.
Right now,
this is kind of fun.
This is just fun. You're watching a cat be judged, and then you proceed to watch the apartment building that they live in, and like all these different rooms that are there, and watch Chewie utilize his teleporting ability her teleporting ability to go from place to place and actually help each room. And it's really well done. It's really sweet. Like there's like 3 guys like watching the fight outside without paying attention to how close the fight is. And like Chewie goes there and like kind of like pseudo attacks them. So they get out of the way of like a huge tire that comes through their room. And in another building, there's a little girl in the tub, and she's really scared and like sad and like she's not alone. Her mom's in the other room, but like she doesn't know what to do.
Right.
And Chewie shows up and just like
comforts her.
Yeah.
Aw.
And like it's just well done. So if you can imagine, Chewie gets a thumbs up.
Yay! Good for the cat.
They all get thumbs up, but Chewie gets a thumbs up and walks away just as a cat could. Like, yeah, it's
it's good.
Yes,
good for me.
You can give a thumbs up to my butt. So it was a cute book, and I appreciate that clearly Thompson was like, hey, I'm going to take this as an opportunity to maybe sell a couple more Captain Marvel books to some folks.
To some cat fans. Yeah,
to some cat fans, for sure. Additionally, AXE, not AXE, it is an AXE book, but it's Legion of X came out this week. That's an AXE tie-in as well. They're all AXE tie-ins, guys. I'm sorry. Right now, we're in X world. We're 2 weeks away from, well, it's not even 2 weeks. It's like this week, and then the next week is when it's coming out.
Yes.
So they're just trying to get in as much as possible right now. So if it feels like it's overwhelming amount, it's just, it is. It's written by Cy Spurrier with art by Raphael Pimentel. And I got to tell you, like, this was a great week for me because there was like 3 or 4 Kieran Gillen books and a Cy Spurrier book and an Al Ewing book. And I'm like,
these are your guys.
Yes. Thank you all. It's like my own little British invasion. And I love it. This was the issue that I was super excited about because this was the issue that we were going to see what happened with Legion, David, and Uranos. And this is one of those books where, guys, okay, what issue of Action we left off on? Like 5?
Yeah.
This issue does, again, that thing at the very beginning where it says this issue is best experienced reading AXE Judgment Day and X-Men Red. Or best after reading those. So if you read Judgment Day 1 and X-Men Red number 5 and 6, that's when you can read this.
Okay.
That's all you need. Which I was like, dope. Well done, editors. Thank you. So yeah, this is just literally like catching us up to kind of what happened a little bit, where it's just like, hey, you know, David is being judged. Like the progenitor shows up and he's like, oh, cool. Hey, let me tell you a little story. And the story is what happened with Uranos.
Okay.
And it's really well done. And it's Cy Spurrier, guys. So like, is there going to be some epic action in here and some fighting? Yes. Are you going to see a knockdown, drag out fight between Legion and Uranos like you might have been hoping for? No. No. But like, when you don't get it, the reason you don't get it is so correct that you're like, yeah.
Can't always get what you want.
Sometimes you get what you need.
Yeah, right.
No, essentially David and Uranos realize that they're too evenly matched, and so then they have like almost a battle in the mind, but not really. It's just like a battle of potential outcomes.
Sure.
Where it's like they try all different things. And it reminded me a little bit of Ten of Swords, where it's like they've got there's like a dance fight, or there's like an actual fight, and like there's all these different things, and at the end of the day, like nothing would actually fix anything.
Right.
And instead of like it ending in them both dying, it would basically ended them
the world dying.
No, it ended in them being undone.
Oh, okay.
And you're also like, let's not do that.
Okay.
While it's all going on, though, really, this is not only like a great issue about like, hey, Legion is come a long way, and like let's check in with David and like how he's handling all of this, right? And like the fact that his dad was judged poorly by him.
Yeah.
And so, you know, David wants to be seen as a leader and all of that. It's also an opportunity to show that Cy Spurrier really likes Nightcrawler. Or like he like thinks he's a good guy.
Yeah.
And so while David takes Uranos off the field, it's really to buy Nightcrawler some time so that he can try to evacuate as many people as possible.
Okay.
And so Nightcrawler is like going at like a speed and a pace that will inevitably kill him.
Right.
That kind of thing.
He'll burn out his body.
With David like feeding him additional, like whatever little energy he can spare to help boost him.
Cool.
So he's able to go further and farther and harder.
Nice.
And like inevitably he finds a whole bunch of people and like they're all together and he's like, everyone has to hold hands. And then he bamps all of them at once.
That's awesome.
Into the mindscape of David.
Oh.
David's like, now we didn't talk about that, but I'm gonna have to let this one slide.
Sure,
right now,
yeah.
Because like that's what he's got to do.
Exactly.
Which is the other reason David's like, I can't fight to the death.
Right.
I have all these people.
Yeah.
With me.
I can't die.
But it's very like heady, this issue, but it also has a good bit of action and a lot of good emotion and heart for David.
Good.
David ends up Uranos gets the once over on David because David is distracted by trying to help Nightcrawler, and so he's able to glean a bit of information about he and his dad, which triggers him to throw a punch, and Uranos gets the better of him, but that's okay because Banshee, who has now become the minion of that god,
the god,
Righteous, and he saves him because he's like, you're not supposed to die here,
right? Because
there's someone else of a greater power than you, Uranos, looking out for this one. So he gets him out of there. And he meets up with Magneto, and Magneto at this point is hole in the chest Magneto, which is why you have to read X-Men Red 5 and 6 to understand what's going on. And that like Uranos, this is the time right before Magneto and Storm go to kill Uranos.
Yes.
And David's like, I want to go with you. You know, I want to be there. And he's like, no. and David essentially is like, oh, you don't trust me? And he's like, no, actually, like when I first saw you, I mentioned it was all about trust and blah, 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 but then he's like, we need someone here who can like take down the rest of his, rest of the armory that Uranus left behind. We need someone that can handle all of it at once.
Yeah.
He's like, so what I'm saying is I trust you.
Oh, okay.
And he's like,
thanks, Uncle Magnus.
Yeah, he basically is like, all I wanted was like that approval.
Right. And he's like, well, listen, when you went back in time and murdered Charles, you kept me alive, and I got to have sex with Rogue, so I owe you one.
Right. So you okay in my book. No, he's like, he says like, finally I made someone proud.
Oh,
and I was like, oh,
damn.
and then he knows that like Magneto died, and he's like, and he becomes angry about that for a number of reasons, but one of which is that he envies that he got the hero's death that he wanted.
Yeah.
And so that's what he's talking to the progenitor about. By the way, there's a really dope page because like there's a couple of books you're really dealing with Magneto's death, which I appreciate because it's kind of a monumental thing because Magneto's not coming back.
Right. He's coming back.
Right. But like for right now, he's
but
not.
He doesn't think he's coming back.
He doesn't think he's coming back. And there are actual conversations in this about him not coming back.
Yeah.
But yay, I want Thorne to write one. I do. I'll read it. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
But there's a great just page that they just use to a black background, and all it says is Magneto was right. And I really like the way it's put.
Yeah.
This page struck me. I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
It shook me.
It's good use of that.
I was shook.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just dope because essentially at the end of the day, David talks about how, like when the dust settles, like after this whole thing, there's gonna be memorials and like graffiti and t-shirts about like Magneto was right. Like,
he's gonna be like a martyr now. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, but there's no coming back for him because it's his wish, because he doesn't want to be resurrected.
Yeah. And
so like they're gonna honor that. And like I wanted that. That's what I wanted.
They should leave him dead until Apocalypse returns.
Yeah. No, I agree. But then he realizes that like while he's mourning him, his father's also mourning him. And the progenitor gives him the thumbs up.
Nice.
And I was like, I love that he got the thumbs up and his
father didn't.
Yes.
I
was like, that's just Cy Spurrier for you there, guys. This solid issue, like Cy's firing on all cylinders for me with this book. Like I said, it gets a little heady sometimes when you're thinking about how they're having this fight, but like it's just a solid story. It's a solid story with a lot of Magneto love and a lot of Nightcrawler love in this because like David's just like, look at him. Yeah. Like he's incredible. Right. Like all he cares about is saving people. Yeah. It's just so good. Yeah. It's just incredible. Just such a great book. Do you want me to do one more?
Yeah.
Okay. Along the lines of books that are not a AXE thing, Immortal X-Men came out.
Yes.
Which is written by Kieran Gillen. This is Immortal X-Men number 7, written by Kieran Gillen with art by Lucas Wernick. You remember how I was saying there's a lot of Nightcrawler love coming around? Yeah. Let me tell you right now, if you love Nightcrawler,
this is your time.
This is your time, apparently, because even though like Nightcrawler hasn't played a huge role in the main book, in the most recent issue, he had a plan, and they're executing said plan. He is a monumental part of said plan. And we get to find out what that plan is. Okay. In this book.
All right.
And I got to tell you, I loved this issue so much. It made me more of a Nightcrawler fan than I was ever.
That's good.
Like I know I know enough about Kurt, and I like him, and I like his compassion for people and like his desire to do the right thing and him being like a moral compass. Yeah. But for some reason this book I was like, oh, I think I get why
people love
Nightcrawler. Just seeing him through Kieran Gillen's eyes. Yeah. So essentially, this is the Nightcrawler issue where it's like, hey, what's Nightcrawler's big plan here? It's Nightcrawler. I think Nightcrawler's even narrating this one where he's just like, I'm an optimist. Like even in the face of like
utter annihilation.
Yeah, I'm an optimist. He's at the he's in Krakoa. They're all talking about what to do. It's like during that time where they weren't being attacked, but like the shit has hit the fan and Magneto is dead. So it's like, what are we gonna do? It's right before they make their big plan, right?
Yeah.
And a bunch of people have several ideas. They notice that Irene is quiet.
Right.
And like she's too afraid to say anything at this point.
Oh my God.
Like, no, because like the future, she doesn't know what to do.
Well, sure, yeah.
Like, so she's like just petrified. That's about the time that like we get judged. So, oh boy, right?
Yep.
So what are we gonna do? At that point, Sinister shows up and is like, I've got an idea. Like, I know. Magneto said, like, let's not clone him.
Right.
Let's not bring him back. But like, what if instead we just brought as many as possible and just sent them all at the progenitor?
Right. Just throw all the Magnetos at the
just make a football team sized amount of Magnetos and just ooh, what would happen?
Yeah.
What would you? Who knows?
I would like to see that.
I don't. But like, and that's a point where Kurt thinks to himself, maybe we don't deserve to be saved.
Right. Yeah.
Like if we're thinking,
if we're just thinking about like violating this person, not only their wishes, but like their identity.
Yeah. So the council's dismissed, and Kurt sees Mystique and Destiny together, and he's like, okay, evil stepmom, let's go. And he bamps her away. Basically threatens that he's going to kill her. She's like, you're not going to. And he's like, yeah, but I wanted you to know what it feels like to like think the end is coming and have to be saved by someone else's gifts, because now is your time to save us with your gifts. How do we do this?
Right.
Like, what's the plan here?
Yeah.
And she's like, it's so narrow and uncertain. She's afraid to walk that line to find out. And he's like, I'm going with you. Come on, let's do this.
Sure.
Let's do it. And so he gets the plan, and that plan includes going to get Captain America, right? And being like, remember there's that handshake where he's like, come on, Cap, let's go. And then he takes him to the progenitor,
right,
who destroys him.
Yes.
So we see Kurt doing all of that. We see Kurt come back. And here is what I love about this issue in particular is the details that Gillen puts in. What's important about Kurt coming back is that when Kurt comes back, he needed Charles to do something that they don't allow to have happen, right? Which is not just bring back Captain America, which is they typically don't live back up to the point of death because they didn't want you to have to feel that or go through it. He's like, I need you to do that because I don't have time to relearn things that I might have learned.
Yeah.
And so he's like, when Kurt comes back, he's like, we all say like we're going through resurrection and coming back from the death, but like none of us remember it when we do, but I do now. So I will carry that with me forever. I'm like, he's like, cool. I know the feeling of being like annihilated.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, Kurt. Okay. And he's like, but that's okay, because I gotta go now.
Yeah.
Like we got big doings going on, right? So we have Hope. Remember the plan is that we need to make a big show of it. Like a whole bunch of heroes need to go and they're gonna die. And then we know the progenitor is gonna come for Krakoa.
Yeah.
And folk need to be here, or they're gonna seem like it's fake. And again, this is just Gillen's strength of writing, in my opinion, that like he was able to give me chills with this moment where like Hope has to come before Krakoa and say, listen, we need volunteers, and I'm going to work my hardest to get you back as fast as possible if there is a tomorrow.
Right.
But we need people to stay here after we evacuate you. And he's like, it's not a miracle. It's not like every hand goes up, but it's more than 1 in 10, which is what they asked for. And like, you just see this sea of hands up for people who are willing to stay behind and die for this cause.
That's awesome.
Egg has remained behind.
Yeah.
He's the only one of the 5 that is technically expendable
because he can make other eggs ahead of time.
He can pre-make eggs, and the others can't use their gifts, right? And so he has to stay behind, and he kind of hates that.
Yeah.
Like he hates that, like it always has to be him. And then Sinister makes a joke where he's like, well, you got to break some eggs. And that sends Kurt into a rage.
Yeah.
And he's like, don't.
Right.
Don't. I swear. Destiny has to stay behind as well.
Good.
Because for this to work, he has to see that the person who can see the future didn't leave.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
that's great. And hey, they can not resurrect her. Since it was a real shit together to make her not, you know what I mean? To get her back.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you know what? You got a freebie.
Yeah. This issue also, there's like a little like kind of a dangling thread here where it's like, why doesn't Sinister just kill a Moira clone?
Yeah.
He goes back there. Nothing works for some reason.
Okay.
So like he tries to have all of his information be saved and backed up so the next clone will know what to do.
Right.
It doesn't work.
Yay.
He's like, screw it. I'll just kill her anyway. His gun won't work. Something is stopping it from happening. I'm like, okay.
Like a kind of like the paradox of going back in time. There's a theory that like if you go back in time to try and kill like your grandfather before you're born, or before your parents are born, that like causality will stop you. Like it's not enough that like you can't.
Well,
it's like the gun will misfire. Like you'll be hit by a bus. Like things will get out of the in the way.
It could also indicate that maybe this isn't really happening and that this is all the big test.
Yeah,
like much like it did before.
Right.
I don't know what this indicates, but I just love that he was like, Gillen's like, I didn't forget.
Yeah,
I didn't forget. I know that this is here. Of course, they bring back Captain America.
Of course,
Exodus has a real problem with this. This is very much expanding on issue 5, guys. So if you liked issue 5
and you want to know more about like what's coming,
this is the issue to read. So if you when we're all done, if you want to go pick up Immortal X-Men, this is going to expand upon that.
Right.
He's got a real problem with Hope doing this. She's like, if I'm supposed to be your Messiah, you need to have some faith in me. And he's like,
oh no, that's what I'm all about.
He's like, don't say that. That's mean. The other thing that they did was Kurt asked to have a whole bunch of eggs for him. And Exodus is like, that's a big waste. And he's like, no. And
no.
Inevitably we go into like Exodus like thinking about it, apparently, where he's like, or it's like he thought it was a major waste of eggs until like he watched the fervor with which Nightcrawler came back each time, because you're like, wait, what? So essentially Nightcrawler went up to where Nimrod and Moira are because he's come to the realization that the world AI is an AI, and so they need someone to help protect it, because obviously inevitably the progenitor is going to come for it. As we know, the Earth has been trying to fend it off. The AI is a cheeky Kieran Gillen written character, and so they need some AI experts to help do some additional like internet security essentially for it. And so he's like, well, we need Moira and Nimrod to do that, or at least Moira, right? I don't know. So he has been utilizing his deaths to get close enough to get her. It only takes him 7 deaths.
Okay.
She's like, I don't understand why you didn't just message me. He's like, because you wouldn't have believed me, but now that you've seen how many times I was willing to die for this.
Yeah.
And again, this is one of those where like Xavier had to live back him up as he was doing this.
Yeah.
So Kurt remembers all of these deaths.
Sure.
And so they recruit them and they're like, okay, let's do this. So he's bringing his team back.
Okay.
So like,
maybe they'll fix this. Maybe this whole event can be a way to fix it.
I don't know, but this issue was excellent,
Yay.
but like intrinsically tied to Judgment Day. So like, if as much as Immortal X-Men has been very much, about other element like Destiny and such of of Krakoa right now, those characters are here, but this is very much about AXE. And I mean that's
right, but also it's doing some heavy lifting for the X-Men, for the Krakoa era of X-Men.
It definitely is. And like I said, like this is just, it feels like Gillen's like, I really like Nightcrawler. Like let's give him a little spotlight issue.
I thought when you said you were going to make more Nightcrawlers that it was like, I'm going to send 7 Nightcrawlers after it. Like,
no.
Like, I like that. You know what? You're an asshole, Sinister, but I like that idea. How about make a bunch of me's?
No. He just knew he would need enough of these bodies. So it's like the first one he got there and he's like, he found out where they were.
Right.
And then the next one he immediately died. And then he realized he needed to do this instead. So it was like he's using all these different
learned experiences to get to where he needs to be.
So it's a great issue.
Awesome.
Great issue.
Yay. Really quick, we jump into some super
I think
chats.
you should, and I'm going to eat some snacks.
All right. Matthew Chalaga says, so we all agree that Harrison Ford is going to totally phone in his performance as General Ross. Abso-freaking-lutely. Yeah, that's the big news. Harrison Ford is joining the MCU as the replacement for William Hurt as General Thunderbolt Ross in the upcoming Thunderbolts movie, and of course in the greater MCU. That's great. I love when people replace actors with 80-year-olds who have no interest in being in franchise movies.
You mean he's not going to become a Red Hulk?
Right? Like, oh yeah, he is. No, that's why they cast him. So they can do Red Hulk. There's no way they're not going to do that.
What? You think so?
Yeah. It's just because for Harrison Ford, he's like, well, fuck it. I mean, I'll voice him, I guess, but like, then I don't have to be there. Like, I'll be General Ross for like a minute, and then they'll like jab me or hit me with a bomb or whatever, and then it's just a CG face. and I can sit in a booth.
Well, admittedly, I guess if you're going to keep Ruffalo,
Yeah.
he's not super young.
No, but he ain't Harrison Ford age.
No, but you need someone who's older than than Ruffalo.
Yes, that's true. That's true. But at the same time, it's like, man, I don't know. Like, maybe someone a little less weary. Denial says, I have to give the FF issue credit. It's been a minute since I enjoyed the entire cast. Slott really did Johnny wrong in his run. He did. Yeah, that's right. Garrett Nelson, hey, I'm finally able to catch y'all live. Take some money so I can support my favorite creators while I'm out with the COVID. Garrett, hope you have a speedy and uneventful recovery. Thank you very much for your support, man. And take it easy with yourself. Memento Mori, thank you, ComicPop, for making mainstream comics more accessible. I hope to someday see the current Moon Knight run on back issues or GBU. Oh, you will, I think.
Yeah, no, I think we should do that.
Yeah, you like it enough.
I like it
that's
quite
worth
a bit.
It. And thank you, Memento Mori, for your support and for saying that. That's very nice. I hope we are doing some kind of service. Yeah. Max M, words cannot express how happy I am to see Craven just living it up during AXE. He has a real potential as a larger Marvel Universe villain. I agree. And, I think that, why not? You know what? Give Craven something to do. And because I think he's outgrown being a Spider-Man villain at this point.
Mm-hmm.
We're as far as Spider-Man goes, I'm like, he's dead. So just make him something else. Danby 900. Speaking of The Thing, last Wednesday I saw a double feature of The Thing, and they live in a theater for the first time. It was disheartening during The Thing to hear Gen Z people laughing for no reason. They clearly never saw it before, and we're laughing at the moments like Blair looking at the computer and seeing the simulation, among others. That sucked. The simulation is silly. Like,
it is silly,
but like, I'll take that over them laughing at performances or effects.
Yeah.
And also laughter in horror movies is not unwelcome. It's actually a great tension reliever, and it's a good indication that people are uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, no, actually, that's very true. And if nothing else, it just means they don't get it.
Yeah, so fuck them. Ray Farr, thanks, Sal, for introducing me to the Max. I only watched the show due to you saying the comic falling apart at the end. Tiff's hat game stays strong. I agree. Yeah, no, man, the show is way better than the comic book. And the show is the comic book. Like, you should read the comic book because it's beautiful and incredible, but like, it stops. And they rewrote it. Like, the ending of the Max cartoon is not in any way an adaptation of the comic book. It's just an ending for the show, which is so welcome. The Fodderbox Kid, hey, yo, guys, hope it's going well. I just got some character sketches done for my superhero comic I've been working on, hoping to see you guys talk about it on the channel one day, as a kid can dream. Well, thank you, Fodderbox Kid. Good luck to you.
Yes.
Hopefully it works out. Can't wait to see it. Send it our way. Ali El Ziadi, hey, Sal and Tiffany, hope you're well. I was curious if you heard about that V from V for Vendetta was introduced in the Alfred show for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Very weird, so I thought I'd share. Take care. It is weird. We did hear about it.
Yeah.
Super dumb. And I think it's done wholly for spite. Like, I don't think anybody thought that was like a fun idea.
Just
I think
Alan Moore spite.
Yeah, I think somebody thought it'd be funny to piss off Alan Moore more, because there's no way he doesn't know about it. But yeah. Jorge Martinez, co-opetition. Great seeing y'all at NYCC. Hey, I know you. Thank you so much for chatting with us. It was your conversation meant a lot to me. Young Goku over 9,000. Wow, so that's what Rosenberg looks like. Nice. Yeah, he does look nice, doesn't he? Big thanks to Matt Rosenberg for being on the show, by the way. Dan V900, I second the Namor Conquered Shores wreck. It's set 100 years in the future. I think it has. It's more like an Elseworlds than a What If. Papi LaRaz does a cover. Cool.
The future.
The future. For Namor. Freaking Namor, man. Breaking news, says Dan V900 from THR. Matt Reeves is meeting with writers and directors to build out movies. Yes, movies, not series. Focus on Batman's Rogues Gallery, most established and more obscure, with characters ranging from Scarecrow to Clayface to Professor Pig. If they really do a version of Clayface, that's awesome. Which one? Yeah, it'll be a character that can't change his face. It'll be like Silence of the Lambs. It won't be like Matt Hagen from the cartoon. Well, I think because Reeves wants it to be more grounded and more real, and it's like, no.
It'll be like the first Clayface then.
Yes, which sucks. So great, he'll be like Vincent Price with a knife.
Maybe he can make a little man.
Yeah, he'll make a little man, a little crap man. Actually, it wasn't Vincent Price; it was Boris Karloff. But yeah, Danny Ollie, thank you very much for your support, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't care about them making villain movies. I don't care about that. Ray Farr, Alan Moore will curse Alfred's showrunners. Yeah, exactly. He'll go into his magic cave and he'll do some cursing. I think we caught up with everybody, but so let's move on. I read Daredevil #4.
Hooray!
It's from Chip Zdarsky and Rafael De La Torre.
Hey, look, they've got cold weather gear.
They do, because they're like south of Russia. yeah, it's a good series. I hate the reboot. Like, I hate the fact that they like rebooted it because it's like, this isn't issue 4. Man, you're just confusing people. Because like the run starts at it in 2018. You know, there was already a Daredevil 4 like 2 years ago. Come on. It's so frustrating. The book is great. It's well written. De La Torre's art is good. Services the story well.
Was Chichetto off?
I think Chichetto is just doing covers and like his own arcs. Like, I think, you know, like Chichetto is drawing the book ahead of time in other things. Like, I think Chichetto needs time to draw.
Sure. Okay.
But yeah, it's fun. You know, new status quo for Daredevil, new status quo for Elektra Daredevil. You know, they're training. I don't know. I don't really care for like the mystical Daredevil stuff. Myself, I'd rather watch him just be like a tortured Catholic in Hell's Kitchen. But every Daredevil run has to do something different and something, you know, like upsetting. And I don't mean like upsetting to the reader, but upsetting to the status quo. And then it'll go back. It always goes back. But the new design for like a mountain, you know, locale Daredevil with a big beard, I'm excited. He's going to look great.
Spelunking Daredevil.
Mm-hmm. That's more like mountain climbing, and
that is,
you know. But
no, that's not what spelunking.
No, but Matt and Elektra basically get married in this book under the auspices of the Fist, and I'm like, sure, you know, Matt's guilty of polygamy now. It's fine. I'm enjoying it, but it's like,
he's got to have some kind of
I didn't sign on for this, but I think that it's going to. Zdarsky has proven that it's going to go into a dope place, and so I'm excited about it. All the Frank Castle stuff is done poorly, unfortunately. Like, not poorly, less exciting than it could be.
Okay.
You know, like Matt finding out that Frank is in charge of the Hand should have been more exciting. Matt telling the Fist that Frank is in charge of the Hand should have been a lot more like grounding and interesting. That said, I know it's going to go in interesting places, and I'm here for it.
Okay.
So it's good, but it's not why I loved this run.
Okay.
So, you know, what was it? Mo says, how come Marvel's okay with recasting Thunderbolt Ross but not T'Challa? Because Thunderbolt Ross means nothing to anybody, and T'Challa was an icon to millions, and Chadwick Boseman meant a lot to a lot of people, and Boseman's T'Challa was clearly going to be the Tony Stark of the MCU, and they had to completely reset and refocus, and they didn't know what to do with that, and so they're completely effed. There was a lot of reasons for it. Respect is one, but the other is just planning. And so I think they will inevitably recast T'Challa, but I don't think that I don't think they felt they were in a position to do that at this point. And Thunderbolt Ross is one of those things where it's like, you could have just killed a Thunderbolt Ross. Nobody cares. Except that he is a Red Hulk. And I guess they want to do that.
Right.
And maybe there's some kind of legal thing where it's like, oh, we can't make Hulk movies, but we can make Red Hulk movies. I don't know.
Oh.
I doubt it. But yeah, it's fine. What else did you read?
Oh, I read, let's talk about the AXE issues. Ooh,
sure.
Just punched the mic slightly, just ever so gently.
Yeah.
I just hit you guys. AXE Eternals #1 came out this week, written by Kieran Gillen with art by
Pascal Ferry.
Yes, Pascal Ferry, you're right. How'd you get that so fast?
It was on the screen.
So listen, guys.
Pascal Ferry, I think, did the Spider Shadow book.
Oh, that explains where I've seen this art before.
How do you like the colors? Did they screw him up again?
I'm not a fan.
Okay.
I wasn't a huge fan of the art.
You just don't like Pascal Ferry?
I just don't, and that's okay. It's not. It's fine. It's just whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't take away from Gillen's writing. If you're not a fan of Eternals, this is literally not the book for you.
Right.
That's all. That's really the key takeaway for me. It's like Gillen loves writing it for the Eternals and was like, let's
do another one.
Let's do some more. Let's write some more for the Eternals. And I'm like, yeah, let's do that. I'm fine with that.
According to this, it's the third and final story arc critical acts one shot. So
I do see a lot of those critical acts one shot things. Now, maybe that's because of the fact that Ajax is about to be judged. Basically tells the Progenitor, like, no, I'm not done yet. And like they talk about free will and all that.
Yeah.
And he says that like in the final moments like she will have complete free will
Okay.
to decide what she wants to do, which she's never had before.
Oh.
In that way, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
They've
that's
always
true.
had the protocols, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, that's really the key takeaway for me. I think was this. This was great for me because I did enjoy his Eternals run.
Yeah.
But like,
it's not essential.
I don't know yet.
Oh.
I won't know until AIC 6 until like something comes up. People are like, "Where did this come from?" I'm like, "Oh, that was in that Eternals thing that I bet nobody read." Oops.
Yeah.
But I did read it again because I liked his Eternals run. It's not that it's not well written. It's just I know that Eternals is not everyone's favorite.
No.
You see Ajax go through the ringer, and it's like if you don't know who Ajax is, it's like you also kind of get the vibe of what happened with Cersei and why she got the thumbs down.
Yeah.
So that's AXE Eternals 1.
Okay.
You want me to talk about AXE Death to Mutants?
Why not?
This one I felt was a little more important for sure. This one I really, really enjoyed. If you could imagine, it's written by Kieran Gillen with art by Guillaume Villanova.
Okay.
Yeah, this is dope. End of story.
Okay.
This is number 3 for this set of things where it's like, hey, there's a lot. Again, there's a little more like support as to what's going on, like a little more from the Eternal side. It's like Star Fox is in charge of things. You know, we know that he's Prime Eternal, and it's like, oh, what's he up to? And he's like, oh, we tried the love thing, so now we got to try the other thing where we like attack folk, right? This is the book that had the Mimotar, that one of the big hexes who was like learning about poetry and communicating with that girl. That's kind of important to remember. In this, Cersei and during the assault where they're like, you know, where the X-Men have control over
they're using their
the
mind
Eternals.
and stuff.
So, and like all of the hex are controlled by Emma and the girls.
Right. The cuckoos.
Yeah, the cuckoos. That like they fall back, right? Like Cersei like tells Stark that he has to tell everyone to fall back because it's obviously it's not working now. It really was not meant to work, but like it's a shit show, right?
Yeah.
And so Icarus is like, I'm not going to, because I can't. Like I'm an arrow and I can't change my path. And so like he goes to attack the Celestial and it just destroys him.
Right.
Right. Do you remember that Icarus's one like ask of the Celestial was to like stop resurrecting?
Yeah.
So
that's that.
It destroys
the resurrection chambers.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I'm like, holy crap, this holy crap.
This is going to be a major upset for the Eternal status quo.
All 10 people who are like care about the Eternals are going to be really upset that they can't come back. Cause I was like, oh my God.
Right. And you're like, oh, I'm alone in this like excitement.
Yeah. I was like, damn.
Yeah. What an upset. This is a real status quo shift. And it's like, oh, like, who cares? I'm sorry. I care.
The Mimotar was being brought back and somehow was able to survive.
Yeah.
It was like in the midst of coming back, so it's able to leave. The progenitor is essentially like, hey, like world machine, get with it. It's time to blow up.
Yeah.
And the world's just like,
no,
I don't want to do that. Like, no. Inevitably, the world machine basically gives a come at me, bro. This is the second mention this week in comics related to this event where that phrase comes up.
Yeah.
Because Legion, when talking to Uranus, has a moment where he's like, how do you start this volley? Like, we just stand there and look at each other.
Yeah.
Like, for a moment, I think to myself, maybe I should just say, come at me, bro. And I'm like,
what is this? So he wrote them both in the same day.
No, it's 2 different people. It's Spurrier and Gillen.
Oh, yeah. Maybe they were conferencing
about come at me, bro.
Yeah.
The World Machine knows that like the Celestial's coming for it, and so like it takes its staff and like it takes its staff a run, drives it into the earth, which is basically attempting to infect the World Machine with itself.
Oh, okay.
Phastos is like, hey, I know you guys have this whole big plan going on where you're going to go in there and like push its like secret button kill switch thing. The problem is that like it's going to get to the World Machine before we get there, and then like it's game over, man.
Right.
Game over.
Uh-oh.
So they need to get in there. Like Phastos has an idea. It's got like one move left, and it's in fact the Dixie twist. No, so he goes to Lemuria where he's able to get like bypass some of the World Machines
defenses
so that it can get in to help it. The
Mhm.
World Machine knows it's coming, so it's like, oh, okay, yeah, like hang on, like yeah, watch out for this, do that. Okay, yeah, great, awesome, we're getting there.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, the Mimitar comes back and has this moment where it's just like, okay, like I am not quite whole,
Mhm.
but like all of my like siblings,
Yeah.
the other Hex, are gone, and it tries to reach out to that girl, and like she doesn't respond.
Oh no.
And he's like she must be dead as well. But like
Yeah.
it tries to pretend like it's not. And so at that point, the Mimotar decides to go find Exodus,
Mhm.
who killed it in the first place. And
Right.
Exodus is like, okay, let's do it. I'm gonna kill you again. He's like, well, hang on. And they start like saying poetry at each other. And Exodus is like, are you okay? Like, are you
Right?
cool? Like, are we doing this? Are you and I
Yeah.
gonna go kill a Celestial? So like they're gonna have a team up,
Okay.
presumably. I'm like, all right, team up's happening.
Yeah.
Phastos comes to the World Machine, and like part of the plan was that like he's going to help to strengthen, like to fix the World Machine, and then Nightcrawler is going to bring in his team, which
Okay.
we know who the team is. I read this first, I was like, who's the team? And then I read
Right.
the other one, I was like,
Oh, that's the team that they were
that's a
talking
bad
about.
team. What are you doing, Kurt?
Mm-hmm.
So Phastos makes his way in, and like there's a really nice moment between like Phastos and the World Machine, and but like the progenitor's coming for him.
Right.
So Phastos hits the reset button.
Oh no.
Because what it'll do is it'll sever all the links between it and the progenitor, and give them more time to set up other security measures by Moira and Nimrod.
Yeah.
But when it comes back online, it is not but a machine, and we've lost that character.
Oh no!
And I was like, that was like a death I felt. I was like, oh. And it's like, it's interesting because it's like, if you're a Star Trek fan, there's some stuff in here that definitely reminds me of when Spock comes back, because it comes back on and it's just all business, right? And
you just call me Jim.
Phastos is like, are you machine? Are you okay? And it's like running down like all the stuff. It's like, no, are you okay?
Right. How do you feel?
Yeah, and it's like. And it basically goes like, this question makes no sense. I feel nothing.
Right.
And Phastos is just sitting there with his head in his hands, and like that's the end of this. And I was like, that is so sad. If you were a reader of the Eternals, the World Machine kind of became this incredible character, this great narrator, this like friend.
Yeah.
This like cheeky ride along like character who's gonna bring you through this, and they're gone. And I was like, I was like, oh. You got to kill your darlings.
Yeah, that's true.
That's not what that phrase means.
No, but it's true. It's sad.
It was incredibly sad, and I was like, that ouch. Like Magneto's death was powerful, and and that scene in X-Men Red 2 weeks ago was like, eye welling. But this one I was like, why? Why, World Machine? Why?
Yeah.
You're so great.
Love it.
So there we go, guys.
Yeah,
that's all the AXE you're getting from
all
me
the
today.
axes. Well, I read Amazing Spider-Man number 11 from
I like
Zeb
this
Wells.
cover. It's creepy AF.
John Romita Jr. Yeah, it's funny. Like, we've been critical of JR Jr.'s art on this run, and or at least I've certainly heard some criticism. And I remember you mentioning you liked the cover, and then I saw somebody say out loud, they were like on some high-profile thing, they were like, "What an ugly, lazy cover." And I was like, that couldn't be more exemplary of Romita Jr.'s career.
Oh yeah,
like it's just I've never heard a better distillation of like the divide between people and their interpretation of his art.
Here's what I should ask, because like maybe this cover really does not give you the vibe of what's going on in this, but this to me,
is creepy.
It is creepy. It looks like an empty husk.
It should
of the hobgoblin there. Like it is just like ghostly, like a haunting image, and I was like, I kind of dig that. I don't necessarily like whatever's holding it. What is that supposed to be?
I don't know.
I don't know what that is. But I really like the gauntness of this image.
Yeah. By the way, Steampunk says, I will not lie, the sacrifice of the World Machine broke me more than Magneto.
I feel that.
Because Magneto's coming back.
Well,
and this World Machine was probably not.
I definitely feel that. And like Magneto got a hero's death, and the World Machine like kept everyone safe for as long as they could. And like there was just so much character, and like if I say like one more time, I'm going to eject myself from this show. Magneto has had hero's deaths before, and he probably will come back, and we know that he's capable of that. Potentially the World Machine could also come back, but if you've been reading Eternals, I don't know, it's like you're in a secret club, and you feel a kinship with this machine.
That's true.
Yeah,
it's the first character you meet on in that run. So Amazing Spider-Man 11, the short version is I liked it. I enjoyed the issue. I thought it was like it was good. It was good that Romita needed, like, he got the time to draw the issue. I think Scott Hanna's a good inker for Romita Jr.
Okay.
Does nice work. I wish the colors were a little better. There's nothing they can do about it.
Is it a different color than the cover?
I don't think so, but I honestly don't know the difference.
It could also be that they had more time for the cover than they did for the pages themselves.
Right, but they need somebody like a Tamara Bond villain, or
everyone needs someone like a Tamara.
But
Bond
like they
villain.
used to have one, but he passed away. But it's like, it's good. It's fun. I like Hobgoblin. I'm a sucker for Hobgoblin, and it looks like we're getting like more than one Hobgoblin for the price of one, and that's exciting. We're setting things up. I know that like we're setting things up for like there's a Summer of Symbiotes event that's coming out. We have a great pitch for
Did
Goblins.
you say the Summer of Symbiotes?
Yeah, that's what they call it.
But it's the winter.
I know, but in the summer there's going to be an event called the Summer of Symbiotes.
Oh.
But yeah, it's exciting. It's a good book, or at least it's a good issue, and I enjoyed it, and fun, setup. You know what it is? There's less like bullshit. Like if you don't want Mary Jane in the book, you don't want to write about her, if you don't want her to be his wife or anything, just don't put her in the book anymore. You know what I mean? Like, but none of this half measure stuff. Don't be like, no, Mary Jane's happy and she's over there. Like, no, just don't put her in the book. If you have no regard for the character, it's not like it's like poor Robbie Robertson. Occasionally he'll show up, like he was in the Tombstone arc, but like we're not checking back in with Robbie. But it's fun stuff. Spider-Man like pursues Felicia, and they're starting something up. It's weird. Peter's a little weird. Peter's a little weird. He's a little more neurotic.
Okay.
Like he has like a panic attack after like asking her out, and I'm like, I guess if you were to approach Peter from the perspective of all this stuff all happened to him, and you just got out of the whole like Sin Eater magic shotgun, kindred, demons, clones nonsense, I think I'd have a panic attack from doing really obvious regular things too. So there you go. But I actually enjoyed the issue. I thought the art like complemented it well. Day to day, that's what it's like to be a Spider-Man fan. So I dug it.
Okay.
Now let's talk about She-Hulk.
Okay.
So She-Hulk wrapped up.
It is wrapped.
And it wrapped up in a I think a satisfactory way in its own like some. Okay, what'd you think of the finale?
I thought it was more what the
show promised to be.
Yeah. I think a lot of folk thought there was going to be a lot more like fourth wall breaking than there was, and like the last episode definitely delivered on that to like an exponential level, like compared to every other episode that we saw.
Right. Yeah, I think that the writers thought that they did it more than it happened in the show, and so like while it was at least like it was earned, I think that the fourth wall moment, if I never hear fourth wall breaking again, man, because I've heard it so much.
Wait, the actual act of it or the term? The
term. Like if I never hear a critic or a fan say break the fourth wall ever again. I've heard it enough times. I know, I'm just saying, but it annoys the shit out of me.
What do you want to say
point.
instead?
There's nothing else to say.
Okay.
That's all. That's because that's actually what she's doing. But like ever since Deadpool, man. Like but anyway.
Just say she's punching through the panels.
Punching through the panels. But no, the ending and the way in which they presented the ending was like pure all of it. Like it was a I think it was emblematic of a marriage, a perfect marriage between Marvel and Disney in a kind of funny way, where Disney has always blurred the line between its like company and the media that they produce, and so has Marvel. And so it's actually like pretty synonymous in those two companies. Like the players who make the stuff that you read as much as the characters that are not real who are in the stuff you read. Just like the person who's in charge of Disney because they have made themselves a character. Walt Disney, Michael Eisner, etc. Although the latest guy, I can't name him. He's a ghost. Probably because he's fucking up so badly.
He's a ghost of flesh and bone.
He's a ghost of flesh and bone. But primarily, like when I was growing up, I saw Eisner everywhere. I saw Eisner interacting with cartoon characters. I saw Eisner getting hit in the face with a pie. Like, so seeing She-Hulk go through Marvel Studios and see Marvel Studios the way we saw it in like those making of documentary, I'm like, wow, they're really there. And it's like a fun kind of like, look at that stuff. Yeah, Bob Iger as well. So I thought like that was actually a pretty like well executed kind of like fun, cute, like back and forth that represents the current world of like Marvel Studios / Disney / Marvel. So that's kind of fun to see like the characters interacting with like the world. But then they did the Kevin robot.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I get the feeling that Kevin Feige didn't want to do that.
Right. He's like, I don't want to be a character in the show.
Right. Like
I'm
on the red carpet.
I want to make the show.
I make the shot of the shit. I don't get on camera.
Yeah.
And I heard a rumor, and I don't know how valid this is, but I heard a rumor that like one of the only pieces of pushback that Kevin Feige had on the show was that the robot wore a hat. And they're like, because you wear a hat, you always wear the hat.
Right.
And as I understand it, he was like, but why would the robot wear a hat? And they're like, because you're the robot, you jackass. And it's like, I don't understand. And I'm like, well, that explains you and your ghostwriting, because you don't get like meta commentary. But like outside of that, I thought it was a pretty cute and clever and fun, like very like old world Disney stuff kind of way to present the new world of Marvel Studios.
Yeah.
As a story,
yeah. It,
you know, like I loved how they did it, and I liked the idea of Jen taking control because she's done that. That is the closest thing to the comics they've ever done, not including like the using Pug and having the superhero law firm and stuff like that. Like that's very much the Dan Slott run, no questions about that, no complaints. But having her like just go, you know what, this is stupid. That's a John Byrneism right there. So going no, and then just changing the ending. I'm like, yes, I am not annoyed that like anything that happened wasn't earned.
Right.
But it felt like lip service. It felt like half measures. You know, like I heard that the writers really wanted to use Spider-Man stuff, but couldn't.
Oh.
In the show.
Okay.
And that, having her reference that would have been more indicative of actual like fourth wall breaking than her saying, when are we going to see the X-Men? But her saying, when are we going to see the X-Men, made the masses think, oh, look at that. They're really like, they're answering our questions, and they're also like pushing the envelope. When we all know, A, the X-Men are coming, and B, the X-Men have already appeared in friggin' Multiverse of Madness. Like, it's not really a valid question because it's already been there.
Right.
If she had said like, how come we didn't get to mention anything about Spider-Man and have the robot go, da? Like, that would have actually been a thing. Not just because I like Spider-Man, but also because like, that's an actual like thing that's going on. You know, like, how come I'm not a movie?
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. Having him actually say that she's not going to be in a movie was like even more concerning for me, where I was like, what? But like, then what's the point of all this? But you know, it felt like it worked, and there's a lot of things that I liked about it. But when you penetrate the surface, there's not much left, and that's what this whole show has felt like. I'm sorry, you go ahead.
No, I mean honestly, like I don't remember when we watched it.
It was like 2 weeks ago.
Was it really?
No. Yeah, it was right after the con.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah.
Wow. I felt like it was just.
Yeah, it was Sunday after the con.
Oh, okay. It wasn't that long ago. Though.
No, it was like a week ago.
It was like a week ago. Okay. Well, it's not so utterly forgettable that I don't remember what happened. It's just I don't honestly know how to feel about this show.
Right.
Because it feels like there was just a lot of things they wanted to do, and they didn't have enough time to fully do anything. So instead of just trying to focus on one or two things, they I don't know.
Like shotgun it?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Like
it just there wasn't as much development as I think I would have preferred.
Certainly not.
I mean, you know, I think
enjoy it?
Yeah, or did I think like, oh, that's clever, at least in the last episode when, you know, we addressed the elephant in the room of like how much money it costs to put She-Hulk's like on screen, where he's just like, oh,
do it off camera.
Yeah.
That was cute. That was funny. I like that.
Like that's fine. Like, but like, does that make it a like?
Right? Does that excuse superficial writing or one-dimensional characters?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I had the same problem in Multiverse of Madness. Like it superficially, like everyone's favorite thing is that Doctor Strange had a cape of arms. And it's like that. Yeah, that is a really cool DeviantArt picture.
Accurate.
That is such a cool variant cover. was it earned? Like, did it actually make me feel anything besides like what a cool album cover that is?
Right. And I mean, I guess for her purposes, being fourth wall breaking, you get away with that type of thing.
Yeah. Right, but like you don't use it as a band-aid to cover up the blemishes.
No, I agree, and I think that the cast, like the people that they cast,
I think the best they did what they could with what they
that's
had.
what I'm saying. Like, I think if there was a little more meat to their episodes, there could have been something there. And I'm not saying it has to be like dramatic. When we think Marvel attorneys right now, you think, of course, Daredevil. So like you think like, oh, it's got to be like this brooding, deep, dark like thing. And it's like, it doesn't have to be that.
No.
But it was also I think it was supposed to be more of a genre show, and so it's filling the niche of like a lawyery sitcom-y.
Yeah, like an Ally McBeal-y, like kind of like self-effacing, not terribly serious, like it's like a Scrubs, only like without any weighty episodes.
Right.
Although there was like I will say it's funny, like I didn't really care for the show, and then there was that episode where she goes to the retreat, and it was like that was pretty good.
Yeah,
like it was really well written, and because it's a character moment, and it had nothing to do with like the world that they actually had established or set up. It was literally unearned. It's like we're gonna go to a place that shouldn't have anything to do with this show. That's a completely different setting with a completely different cast of characters, and basically do a completely different show where she's in the group therapy. Like that's a completely different show.
Yeah,
and it worked really well. Seeing Porcupine was really awesome. I mean, and having them be things and do things that were in service to the story about the character of Jen Walters worked great. Everything else just felt like a facade. Like this whole thing felt like a Western from the 50s, where it's like everything is just a flat, like, oh look, we're in the OK Corral, but if I push it, it'll all fall over.
I think the biggest issue there for me is just like, because I didn't have a big problem with any of those that happened in the show.
No.
I think what I was lacking was the attorney stuff.
Yes. Actually, it was one of my criticisms of the Daredevil show when it was going on, because I loved Daredevil. Daredevil is for me like an S tier, like this is what Marvel should be trying to do. But even then, everyone's favorite lawyer scene with Matt Murdock is from the fucking Defenders show. Like, and the Frank Castle scenes, which is basically just a backdoor pilot for Punisher, which is no complaint here. But like, I wanted more lawyering.
Yeah.
Right. And the writing for Daredevil was so sharp and good that they could have gotten away with it.
Well, also, you're going to call yourself, like, I think the show has attorney at law.
It's called Attorney at Law, and all the attorney stuff was as methodically researched and well written as the McNeil episode of Futurama. Like, there is no work or research done, and it's really frustrating.
It is,
because like that's what they wanted to do, and that's what they promised. Like, not Daredevil, not like the Hulk showing up. They promised a workplace comedy. And it's like, they made those. They've been making those for 65 years. You know what I mean? Like, we've got enough shows on TV that are templates. I know somebody who wrote for the Murphy Brown show. Like, there are people who are young, who are writing TV today, who are writing shows that are homages and references to shit that happened 40 years ago. And no one on this show wrote that.
No, it's true. And like, I think at the end of the day, that was the thing I wanted the most. And so much so that like when Charlie Cox showed up,
people were like, oh,
and they have like a
back and forth
courtroom scene. And like he says something which I'm sure is nowhere near as good as anything he did in Daredevil.
Right. But it's still,
but I was like, oh, I was so hungry for that. Right.
Yes.
Like I like me a good courtroom drama.
Who doesn't? That's why Law & Order like exists.
But I also like me a good courtroom like farce.
Of course.
So like, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah, no, like, it's funny because I was gonna say My Cousin Vinny, because I'm one of your favorite movies, but also like it's such a great like example. But also, My Cousin Vinny is so well researched.
Well, yeah,
like it really is. Like, it's not it's you watch and you have fun, but like for real though, all the law stuff is real and well researched, and it's like, but it feels seamless because of how clever and good that movie is.
Yeah.
And I'm not asking them to write an Oscar-nominated movie every time, like for a 22-minute long like sex drama, or sex comedy, I should say. No, it wasn't drama, but it was too one-dimensional.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I wanted it to be all lawyering.
No,
it's just,
but like that's 50% of the show. Like, it's She-Hulk lawyer show.
She, her job is that. It's like it's just,
that's
right.
Defining
it's
attribute.
It's a pillar of what the show was supposed to be, and then when they didn't get that, it like
right. It would be like making a Spider-Man movie, and they're like, okay, what do we know about Spider-Man? The powers, the secret identity, the job, and the girls.
Yeah.
It'd be like if there was no love story in a Spider-Man movie.
They would have been better off just leaving her on the island.
Yeah, I would not have wanted that.
But I'm just
saying, at least
like,
then it would have explained why there was no lawyer stuff.
About the lawyer stuff.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily wouldn't have wanted that either. I don't know why that stuck with me so much that there was like, I'm like, there's nothing. There's nothing here.
No. It was, and it's funny because like,
and I don't even care if she's like not a great lawyer.
No,
it's just there was just nothing.
And that would have been actually really interesting. But again, like these are just notes. Like the idea of like Jen was hired outside of her depth for this like high-priced law firm. You know what I mean? Like in the Devil's Advocate, where it's like you're a podunk lawyer. We're going to elevate you, but it's like because of nepotism and not because of like your abilities. Like that would be interesting. They wanted to do too many things, as you pointed out. They wanted to do too many things. They wanted to talk about gender identity, or not gender identity, but like they want to talk about being a woman in America today.
Yep.
And by the way, why the hell not? It's a female-driven show. It's a show. Make it that, you know, especially about a woman in like power, who has power, who is in this world that is very much like vocally online vitriolic. Fine, do that, but also don't forget that what your show is about. This is, I think, a problem where it's like. It is just more proof that Marvel Studios is not here to make TV. It's one of those things where it's like, I'm not here to make friends. I'm not here to make TV. I bled, I sweated, and I sacrificed to come and work for Marvel Studios, the #1 studio in the world, to make the biggest movies on the planet. And I'm on She-Hulk, the 22-minute long sex comedy show. And it's like, that is not what I'm here for. And I don't think that it's like in the DNA of the show, it's written to be like this resentful, I hate this show and I'm going to tank it myself. I just think it's like, these are people who are geared to making movies who are being asked to do something that they're not good at.
I mean, yes. I mean, for sure. Then that could just be a fault of like kind of who you got involved in the writer's room just in general. And again, nothing again, like, listen.
And clearly they got Zeb Wells.
Well, I was going to say, like, I am not a writer. So, like, anyone who can put together a story and a script like that, like, my hat's off to you just in general, because you sat there, looked at that blank page, and then you made a story. And you made something out of it. Like, thank you.
And they filmed it, and it became a real thing.
You did something. That's awesome.
It's more than any of your detractors could ever say.
I'm just saying, I think at some point, someone in Marvel should have been like, and we're going to put this person who wrote for literally pick any Law and Order.
Right. Like, we're going to pick this person who, like, wrote My Cousin Vinny, wrote The Devil's Advocate, wrote Law and Order.
I think they all were
wrote for Daredevil.
I think they were excited for this show. I think they wanted to do this show. I think that, like, they had a lot of other elements covered.
Yes.
Except this key component, which ended up kind of being the linchpin that everything should have grown out around
100%.
from it. And because they're missing that, I don't know. That's at the end of the day, I think that's what did them in.
Yes.
For me, at least in terms of like how good the show could have been.
Absolutely. No, that's the thing is like, I don't want any negativity from this show launched at that show to be confused with the arguments against it that you see online. Because my thing is, this show could have had flawless CG and whip smart writing, and it still would have had exactly the same kind of hate and misery that was thrown at it, because it's not about that.
No, but like what we are saying,
it didn't help.
No,
that like this show did have something to say.
Yes,
and it was drowned out by all the other elements that unfortunately weren't as strong. The writing, the CG, the story. You know, like the story for Jen, her journey. It's not exactly like a traditional story circle.
Sure, it's
unfortunately not. And like the world they were building, like there's an opportunity. TV is always an opportunity if you're going to expand on a multi-movie show franchise to deepen that world. You know, when I heard Mr. Immortal was going to be in it, when I heard like the Porcupine was going to be in it, when I heard that, like when I saw that the Abomination was going to be returning, it was like, what a great opportunity. You know, what a great opportunity to explore the Abomination. Maybe there's like, and if you want to make it social commentary, the Abomination smashed Harlem. Maybe there's like a whole like grassroots Black Lives Matter movement against the Abomination. Like that'd be kind of interesting and funny. Nope.
I had no problem with the Abomination stuff.
I did, because the Marvel universe is so empty of supervillains that you didn't kill one and you made him that.
Well, I think honestly it was kind of smart, because if you're gonna be doing anything else with Hulk stuff and you have some like aging actors,
Right. Well, I mean, Tim Roth could just not have to be in it.
yeah,
He
but
could
like,
just voice it.
right. But I'm just saying, you have now opened a doorway that like you could bring in like a different
Yeah.
villain, and it's not like
Well,
so
and they
like,
are apparently like, I don't remember what show. Oh, it's the new Captain America movie is going to get the leader.
okay.
And it's the guy from the Incredible Hulk movie.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, the leader,
Yeah.
cool.
But like, you know what I'm saying? Like that, I had no problem with that.
Yeah, that's fair.
He's charming.
Well, Tim Roth is wonderful. I feel like he got more input on what his character was doing than the universe.
Yeah.
But I like watching Tim Roth. Tim Roth's great, and
Mhm.
everything. Yeah.
But for me, at the end of the day, it just comes down to like, I think the show could have been a lot stronger if
Yes.
they had just had more
Law stuff,
or just a stronger understanding and like backbone of that for the show.
Yeah.
And then have, like I said, like everything else could just kind of spiderweb out from
Yeah.
there, because it's like we got some hulking stuff. I know, and I do understand that that's expensive. And so if that stuff is expensive, then what you need to do is you need to focus on the other part.
Right. Wouldn't it be easier to just do that? But for me, the law stuff is so important. But my major problem with the show is the characters. I feel like it is there is this is an impression of a sitcom. Like they're perfect strangers. I reference it only because her father's played by Cousin Larry, but like perfect strangers, Cheers, Sports Night.
I guess, yeah. I mean,
they all have deeper, more well-rounded characters than her entire supporting cast. Everyone in that show is a stock cardboard cutout.
Well, if they are getting another season, or
I feel like they are,
then I hope that they can take this and like grow with it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Now you've like laid a foundation, so at least people know these characters a little bit if you didn't already know them, and you know them in relation to this world. And so now it's a time that you could dive into them a little more, give them a little more depth, and again, maybe get more of that attorney knowledge in there.
I'm worried they're gonna be like, well, we did that already. The last show was called Attorney at Law. Now she's a space cadet, like, which is a Dan Slott invention as well. But like, I genuinely, like, I didn't like or care about, and I didn't not like them. I didn't care about them at all. Like her assistant, Nikki.
Oh, I like Nikki.
She's funny. Who is she? You know what I mean?
She's her sidekick.
She is the sidekick. She has these characters, like, she's sassy and funny, and and she'll do anything for her friend.
She's her hype woman.
She's her hype team. But like Pug, even in the Dan Slott run, like Pug has a crush on Jen Walters, and it's always unrequited. And it's like, I don't, obviously that's like a trope, but Pug now has nothing to do. You know what I mean? Like, why? It doesn't have to. You could reinvent him. You can make him gay. So there's no concern about that. And I'm not saying that being gay is an attribute. I'm just saying, like, you could do that to get to not have to answer that question, but then give him something else to do. Well, but he's just nothing.
They could just be saying that it's okay for them to be friends.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I get that, but they don't do any. But instead of them being platonic, or instead of them being unrequited lovers, or instead of them being like friends, they're nothing.
I think they were struggling enough with trying to find their way with what they wanted to do with Jen.
Right, but
so to add those elements in, I think they were like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, but no one would say that about any movie that's a character study. Any movie or TV show that's like about one person.
No, I hear
it's
you.
like, well, the entire supporting cast doesn't have any like depth or character. And it's like, well, but they're really trying to focus on the main character. Like, no one else does that. We're giving, and I think that the show is getting a bigger pass because people.
Well, I was gonna say, I didn't say it was right to do that, but no. I definitely, that because it was like so like genre-y to the sitcom-y side of it, I didn't really think too much about it, because there are plenty of characters in sitcoms who are just
well, Big Bang Theory, everyone is a cardboard cutout, but it's one of the most successful sitcoms of all time. But and just by virtue of it being on for 10 years or more, character depth emerged. So maybe it's just time.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, man, like, I don't know. I felt nothing for anyone in this show except for Jen, because they've put that much effort into Jen as a character. And even then, she doesn't have a journey. Like, her journey is the same as when it starts. It's just that she also, like, she didn't count on being attacked for no good reason. And the stuff in that, like, is actually well executed, I think. Like, like the nuance, ironically, of online discourse and like and gender specific attacks is actually pretty well handled.
Yeah.
And not as hacky as I've seen executed in other places.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I agree.
But the show isn't called Single Female Lawyer.
Very
you know,
true. No, it's very true.
So I mean, at the end of the day, and Scar looks like fucking garbage, and I am done with this whole. I don't get it. I don't get what Marvel.
Maybe that was a joke. They're not really doing it because she said no.
Right, that'd be funny.
They're like, no,
it'd be fine with me. But like, I don't understand what Hollywood's obsession is with children. They were like, oh, we don't know what to do with Shrek. Give him some fucking children. And what does everybody say? Shrek is ruined because of the children. Like, how about Thor has a child? How about Captain America has a child? Like, everybody gets a kid. And then those kids can never inherit the franchise. Like, what are you doing?
Especially if you're Ant-Man's kid, because you're going
to be recast like at least 3 times. Maybe in Quantumania they'll stick with one actor finally, but I think why not? She's already been recast two or 3 times. Every movie she's a different actor, and then they find out she's like she's in multiversal flux. Anyway,
okay.
At the end of the day, there were moments that I enjoyed, and the only things I didn't like about it were because of like structure and like technicalities.
Yeah, no, I feel like, there could be something there. I just wish they had a little more depth in certain areas.
Yeah.
And I think all it would do is just bolster what was already there.
Yeah.
You didn't even need to add any more scenes. Just literally have a little more to them. And it doesn't have to be super dramatic.
No.
Just a little bit something there. Something to chew on a little bit.
That'd be fine with me. Let's jump into some super chats and then we will recommend some comics that come out. Okay, hang on. I gotta catch up. Okay, we got it. Here we go. We're finally caught up here. Archer FX. Hey guys, Red Deanie's DC and GJAC runs. Really enjoyed and hope you both check them out. Think you have them both. The latter has one of the best Superman stories I've ever read with Sal's favorite heroes. Okie dokie, thank you. Ali Alziadi, what do you think of Daredevil's portrayal in She-Hulk? I personally loved it, and Charlie Cox just has charm to spare. Plus, I met him once, and he was really cool and a super nice guy. Maybe I'm biased. I had an opportunity to meet him, and I didn't, and I just didn't want to bug him. I wish I had, because he's so awesome. One of our mutual friends is a mutual friend who was able to finagle that, and we didn't do it. We should have. It was just a missed opportunity.
That's all you do. You're just like, no, I'm not gonna do it.
I'm sorry.
You gotta do it for now.
I try to say yes all the time now, but I loved it. I had no problem with it, and I think it jives. I know that they've been saying, I think Cox or somebody said that like the show, like the Netflix show, didn't happen, and it's like a reboot, but we're just using some of the same actors. And I'm like, no, the show happened. Keep it. It still works.
Here's the thing. I know some people were like, oh,
yeah, I know.
Why is he like this?
Why is he like the comic books?
Well, I have no issue with him being happy.
No. Well, he can be sad again.
Yeah. In fact, it's actually more like painful when you had happiness than then you become sad.
Right.
It's just kind of how things work.
Yeah. Ray Farr, the fourth wall break in She-Hulk's finale felt like her breaks in the comics, playing with the format instead of just talking to the camera. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wish there was a little more of that.
Yeah, it just feels like they backloaded it so much.
Completely.
Maybe that's an indicator of the fact that it's like we found our footing, and so stay tuned for the next season.
Yeah, like last episode is more like what the show will be.
Yeah.
Like. Titania was a complete waste. All she did was just break through a wall and yell.
Yes.
And like, I don't care. I didn't want Titania in the show anyway.
Admittedly, though, like I said, that ad that they play in the show,
yes.
I saw that ad on YouTube as like an advertisement for the show.
That's a clever idea.
It's pretty
clever. It's a good idea.
Not bad marketing.
Ziadi says, hey, Sal, you might be happy to hear that Cox wants more lawyering as well, although he said that before reading the scripts for Born Again. Well, we'll see what happens.
More lawyering.
More lawyering. Lee Allen, you guys read Gotham Year One? Not yet, but I do have a copy of it. Archer FX, also agree with Logan. He deserved the thumbs down. SMH Fire Bruh, all of the She-Hulk really had was a series of scenes that I guess tied in with each other energy. Everything felt simple and the obvious joke. That's an opinion. Paul Williams, greetings from Australia. Wanted to thank you for reintroducing me to comics. Recently, I had one of my favorite comics sent in the PO box, but I mainly wanted to thank you for sending me back to for bringing me back to comics.
Yay!
Well, that's great, man.
Thank you so much.
If you have mailed it, I haven't seen it yet, but don't worry, I'm going to the mailbox tomorrow.
Oh boy, you're gonna get in trouble.
I know, but thank you. Fuck them. I'm paying them to keep that thing. Mordecai or Mordezai says, wanted to say I've been rewatching old back issues and getting back into comics missed because of an old job getting me down. You all do amazing work. Stay gold. Well, thank you very much, man.
Thank you.
And enjoy those old episodes. They're really fun. DanV900, thank you, Sal and Tiffany. Exactly. It was an impression of a sitcom. The supporting cast was just a bunch of caricatures. 9 episodes with no depth. Tatiana Maslany said she has no idea if season 2 is happening. There you go.
Okay.
We'll see. I don't know. I bet it does. We'll see. I hope she shows up. I hope they keep her because she's great. Rayfar, after my friend telling me about the She-Hulk finale and seeing Halloween ends in the span of 24 hours, I have one word: apathy. Yeah, I didn't hear. I've not seen it, but I'm never going to. I don't care about Halloween.
You know what? No matter what, I gotta give like
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Like she's just. I like her.
Yeah, she's great. She's a firecracker.
She's like a fun lady.
Yeah. Dan V, I was surprised that Josh didn't return in the show. I don't remember who that is. Is that the guy that she slept with?
Yeah.
That was weird that they didn't even pay that off. LT3 didn't notice it until the rant, but I realized I cared more about Madison and Wonger's only good side character moment was Pug and his sneakers. Oh, yeah, the sneakers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't care less about Wonger's though. Good for him for being in it though. What a good sport. Paul Williams, my favorite She-Hulk meme from the show is people complaining about Daredevil making jokes, then cutting to all his jokes in the Netflix series. Agreed.
Yeah.
Right? Or cutting to him smiling or doing anything in the comics. You know,
God, get with a Daredevil.
Seriously. I realize that this is completely personal bias, but I'm sick of Smart Hulk. I know it's tired in one note, but Sad Hulk and Shiri Jen are my favorite comic pair. From Ray Farr, I agree, man. Not that I don't mind him. It's just like I'm ready for a change, you know, and like seeing him show up in that finale, I was like, ugh. It's like, hey, it's me. I'm like, okay, you're tiny and you're boring. Lose your shit. Get savage again. Come on, let's go.
It's time to get savage.
But let's do some recommendations for comics that are coming out this week that we think you should check out.
Things that are exciting.
Things that are exciting to us. I'm gonna just go ahead and move these over here.
Is that your list?
It's my list of books that are coming out this week. Obviously, Public Domain number 5 is out. You should be reading this book. It is great, from Chip Zdarsky. Predator number 3 is out. I got to read number 2. I like number 1 well enough, so I'm looking forward to seeing where Predator goes. Predator number 3. Batman One Bad Day. The Penguin is coming out from John Ridley. I'll see how this goes. Wow. My enthusiasm for this went from like a 10 to a 2. So we'll see where this one averages out. Deceased War of the Undead Gods number 3 is coming out. Yippee. I love this series. This is such a great book.
That sounded so
sarcastic, yes. I know, but I'm really enjoying it. Flashpoint Beyond number 6 is great. You should be reading this. I'm really digging it as well. Okay. Can't wait to see this. Batman Superman World's Finest number 8. More of that. Hooray. I like this book. Nightwing number 97 is coming out. Huzzah. I'm looking forward to that. Thor number 28. I'm reading this. It is apparently written by Donny Cates and Al Ewing with art by Sal Araka. Oh, no, never mind. I do want to see Thor fight Venom, but not like that. Moving on. Batman of the Night number 10 reminded me that I got to read the rest of the Night. I think I dropped off after the first arc, so I need to read more of this.
This is the last issue.
Last issue. So 10 issues, not bad. Okay, I'll pick that up. Hooray, the Night. And The Rogues number 4 is finally coming out from Josh Williamson. Yay, I like this book. It's weird and funky and, you know, ridiculous, and I'm looking forward to more.
Is that Jeff Lemire book just dead?
I assume. I haven't heard anything about it.
Well, I'm gonna say Moon Knight number 16 is coming out this week, written by Jed McKay with art by, I'm gonna guess it's Cappuccio, but I didn't open this up.
It
is. I remembered a thing. X-Men number 16 is coming out. This is not an AXE tie-in. So
no, we're moving on.
We're done with that. We're into the vault.
Yep.
Into the vault. This is written by Jerry Duggan with art by Josh Cassara. So yeah, we're back to it, folks.
Duggan.
X-Force number 33 is coming out.
You skipped last week's, but you could just read both of them now.
It's also an Axe tie-in though this week.
Of course.
So I think we're just going to be dealing with Craven. It looks like Wolverine's on the cover, so hopefully this will let me know when this is taking place, as they've been doing, to be like, hey, when does this fit in? Which I will really appreciate when we if inevitably cover this on back issues, because good lord.
Good lord.
Midnight Suns #2 is coming out. That like book.
Remember that book?
Yes. Written by Ethan Sachs, art by Luigi Zagaria. Very much because of the game, in my opinion. I don't know that for sure, but I don't know anything for sure. If you're a Silver Coin fan, there's going to be another Silver Coin coming out this week, this time written by Mike Walsh. So, like, he's kind of the, the
creative powerhouse behind it.
Yeah, so, check it out. Why not?
Check it out.
Check it out. Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings #4 is coming out. So, I will definitely be picking that up because I really love this book. Written by Jean Lewin Young with art by Marcus To. So, come on. It's just
consistency.
This book has just been consistent. It's always a joy to read, honestly. I'm going to also be grabbing the Bone Orchard Mythos 10,000 Black Feathers #2. Future Tiffany, please don't forget to pick this one up because I really liked that first issue, and I'm in the mood for spooky right now. Yeah. So as much as I can get, I would like to devour it for sure. And I think that might be it. I think I have a bit of a lighter week this week.
Yeah.
So that's a nice breather for me and might give me a chance to go grab Ghost Rider, which I didn't get a chance to grab and pick it up and check that out.
I wonder about that. What's that Snyder Jock book that's on?
Oh my gosh, I gotta pick that up.
Yeah,
I gotta pick that up. I didn't even know what it is.
And that's not even in print. That's on Comixology.
No, I just need to read that for sure. I'm just looking. I'm just reading.
I know you're just checking out that other
book.
book.
This is just for me.
All right, cool. Well, then we want to thank you so much for hanging out with us. We want to thank our super chatters for sponsoring today's episode. Thank you to the chat for keeping the show alive, and of course, thank you to Matt Rosenberg for coming on the show and plugging Wildcats. It stands for something else now. But yeah, we'll see you guys next time with an all new episode of the Off the Rack. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and stay tuned for more. We'll see you guys later. I'm Sal.
Wildcats.
Bye. Oh, and if Chris is from Comic Tropes is streaming, stay tuned for Chris. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Wildcats.